Welcome back. Oh, fuck me. Hello! Welcome to ESA Cup. We are here for the final round of the Swiss stage. We are ever closer to getting our final 8 teams locked in for the playoffs. I'm Golumolu. I'm joined by Travi. And this is a game that we have been anticipating a little bit. We've been looking forward to it. We talked about it at the end of last week, being a game that is really one you have to be here for. Aspire and Entropy duking it out. Only one gets to be in the playoffs, Travi.
That is it. Only one gets to go in the playoffs. I mean, you said it's at a game where you want to be watching. I think you want to watch all the games this week, right, isn't it, Golly? We're obviously getting towards the end of our Swiss bracket now. We're in round 5 of 5. All of the games this week, both yesterday and today and tomorrow's games, they're all do or die for these teams. It's going to be tense. There's going to be upsets, and it's really, really exciting to be here. And really, I'm looking forward to getting Steve stuck into today's game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. It should be really, really good. And again, it is going to be a best of 3. So, I mean, it's been the case all the way through, right? You've come to get so used to it, but it is just the best way to get to see these two teams duke it out and getting to see potentially all 3 maps. Look, we had a really close game last week, Travi, when we were here, right? It came down to 2 maps, both going into overtime, but we were just robbed of that elusive 3rd map. Do we get it decided today? Do we finally get to go all the way? I don't know. I can't say we do, but it'd be kind of interesting. We'll see the bracket very quickly before we jump into our game. It loads up.
Yeah.
But there we go. You can see we are right here, the end of the 2-2 stage.
Yeah, right at the end of round number 5 now. Of course, really exciting point in the competition. At this point, we've already been starting to send some teams home. We're already starting to see which teams are going to be going all the way. As we said goodbye to SFAM yesterday. Crown Zero qualified through. Today, one of Aspire or Entropy are going to be going home. One of them is going to be going through. It's going to be a really, really crucial day for these two teams. Really, really exciting point of the competition to be in here. And I couldn't think of a better way to be ending off our Swiss stage, really, because we've got 6 teams that I think all definitely have the potential to do well in playoffs and definitely have the potential to cause some chaos in them. But of course, only 3 of them can make it through. And that's the hard reality we're going to have to face here. And honestly, Golu, I'm not really sure who it's going to be tonight.
No, it will be interesting to see, but we get, of course, our standard talent predictions. Still a little one-sided here. You know, you got 2 votes going to Entropy, but we've seen a lot of 5-1s as we swing to the second stage. Nice little balance. You know what? Fair play to us. This hasn't been too bad.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I'm going to throw our game last week with the predictions. They were really one-sided last week, weren't they, Golu? They were incredibly one-sided predictions. And then it was probably one of the closest games I've had the pleasure of casting here in ESA. 47-rounder. It was a great game. So maybe predictions aren't all to be trusted. Maybe Entropy will have some fight back. And of course, we're just going to have to wait and see for that one. Of course, who it's going to be. Of course, we've got Map Bam going to be coming up your way. Now, these two teams did play each other recently. It was a 2-1 victory to the way of Entropy, and that first map was Skyscraper. That catches my eye immediately because they lost that one 7-0 to Aspire in that best of 3 that was played earlier this month. So no surprise they're getting rid of it. And then, of course, Consulate, a map that both these teams really do like. Nighthaven Labs, it's middle of the road for both of these teams here. Of course, it's a good map. And then, of course, we're ending things off on Lair, which, if you ask me, Golu, incredibly exciting map to round out the series, should we get there.
I'm a big fan of Lair. I'm a Lair enjoyer. It's got enough going on where it feels quite unique, especially in this map pool. But there's always something that goes wrong for a team, right? I mean, we've seen it before where teams really not appreciating how important it is to play on the roam and getting caught out and punished for that. It's a map that hasn't creeped up too much, but as we've gotten further into the Swiss stage, we're seeing more and more teams pick into Lair. It has oftentimes filled that decider spot, so you don't actually get to see it played, even though it's sort of hand shook into as that backup. So I'm interested to see if we get there. Again, it's the decider here.
Yeah.
If it's needed, how does that balance things out? I mean, you're looking at Consulate into Nighthaven, 2 maps I really love to see as well. This is quite a quirky map pool, right?
Yeah, it is a really funky one. I mean, I'm really quite excited for this one. Just on account of here, that first map of Consulate, it's a really, really high preference preference map by both of these sides. So I think it's going to be a really great place to start this series off. Of course, it is quite a defender-sided map. Sometimes you can have difficulty clearing those tougher sort of extended hold positions. There's a lot of verticality at play, a lot of rooms and corners to be checking on it. Consulate is quite an interesting place, and I definitely think because it's favoured by both of these teams here, it's going to give us a really good idea of this series, because I think if it's a one-sided game on Consulate, I feel like the series will be 2-0. If it stays close all the way through it, I've got a feeling we could be seeing that layer all the way at the end of things.
Yeah, I hope we do. I'm a layer enjoyer. It can be a bit dingy at times. You know, you'd think Deimos, for all of his plotting, would have a better maintenance staff, but we start on Consulate. Another map which really could do with a bit of a clean-up after
Yeah.
recent insurgency activity, but it should be an entertaining way to start off this afternoon. Of course, we are going to see the bans first of all. It's Aspire getting to start out on the defensive end of things. That is a big advantage for them, right? You always want to have that defensive start. Consulate a map where seeing 5 rounds put up by the defense, not completely out of the question. And we see teams get bottlenecked a lot. We got to see a Consulate game somewhat recently in last week's in round 4. And a big takeaway from that was that teams kept losing to time. They'd get a little bit of progress and then get bottlenecked. They wouldn't quite know where to go from there. So for both Aspire and Entropy, making sure they have a consistent plan going forwards, that they're always able to keep moving forwards, is going to be really important to manage that clock.
It is indeed. The clock is the key. I mean, of course, it's really important across both sides. However, one thing we really do need to, as you say, Golu, is that clock, it's that time wasting. And when I find you get to an end of a Consulate attack round, you tend to find yourself, as I said, there's a lot of corners to hide in on Consulate. There's a lot of wrap positions that you can sort of insert yourself into. And of course, as you can imagine, you get to the end of that round, you don't have time to clear them all. You need to make sure you're going in with the confidence and you're not double guessing. And it's going to be crucial here for Aspire on the other side of things. They can't be letting too many of these defenses slip away here. If they're not coming out of this half with a 4-2 result or better, then immediately I start to feel like their defenses maybe haven't been quite up to the par that we can expect from them. So we're going to be kicking things off down towards the basement. For this side of Aspire lineup, of course, you've got Wizard over on the Bandit, Keeper, Waldenile. But the one that sticks out to me there, Golu, is that Solace over on Dreams.
I'm a big Solace fan. I think it is an operator who obviously, you think back to when it was the operator to play. Solace was absolutely just demolishing everyone with a great set of weapons. The gadget was toggle on and off whenever you needed it to. A lot more flexibility in terms of its time for recharging and its duration as well. It's been hit by a lot of nerfs, but it still very much does what it did before. Well, no impacts now as well. That is another significant debuff. But it's still very useful. And on a large map like Consulate, where you want to be able to get that vision of what's going on more than one floor, you can use the scanner to spot out the drones flying through the top floor and the basement sat on the middle, or you can sit upstairs and try and figure out, are they coming to deal with us, and adjust accordingly to your opponents, right? It feels a similar role to Vigil a lot of the times in that messing around with the drone game of the attack. But instead of just hiding, you get information on where they're coming from, and you can use that to plot your own roam.
Exactly, and one thing, you talk sort of is she doesn't have impact grenades anymore. It's one that is 50-50 what players bring primary weapon rise. So of course, she does have the SMG-11 available as a backup, so you've got the choice between the P90 or the ITA-12, which of course is a pump-action shotgun. Here, Dream can be bringing the P90, a weapon that is very formidable, does a lot of damage, or doesn't do a lot of damage, but more than makes up for that with that rapid fire rate, that massive magazine size, and of course, when you're dealing with large numbers of players on the roam, being caught out reloading can put you in a difficult spot. That is something the SMG-11 falls short on. P90, on the other hand, it's great for clearing out a lot of players at once, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, 50 bullets does wonders, right? It's part of why Ella was so broken back in the day, just having that Scorpion. I mean, the Scorpion was a complete monster on top of 50 bullets, but 50 bullets was very unfair still. They are going for this full clear off the top floor, using that Jackal to try and scan out the footprints. A couple spray tracers coming in from that Solace's P90 up towards the hatch, but caught out pretty swiftly afterwards. Dreams down for the count. That's the first pick going over to Entropy. We've seen Alpha consistently this season do a great job of putting themselves in position to take these early gunfights. And be interesting to see how Aspire can come back to challenge that.
That's it. I mean, Entropy, they've put a lot on this roam clear. They're obviously clearing all the way through the map, and they've done a good job of it for the most part here, right? You do have Casper here on this Legion, trying to contest up towards Service Says, trying to stop the players here, but eventually you've got to learn a battle lost is a battle lost. Retreat back down. Elsewhere on the map, though, towards Piano Expo side, it's going to be turned over on this ram. You get in the floor, nice wide and open, and immediately the attack, well, they're starting to get what they need to do done, right? They've got the roam clear, they've got the main breach open, they've got the vertical. They're setting themselves up for success here.
Trying to drone in. Again, Kiba's still set up to put some pressure on, but if Wizard just walks out into the middle of nowhere, it doesn't matter if you've got this setup around you. Trying to go for a flank now. Cal knows that there needs to be some control above, but I think they've read into it.
Yeah, they have to have the drone network. I mean, that's what Zero's being bought for, right, Ryzen? You've got 6 of those cameras available to you, so you're going to know anything that the defensive bit is going to be trying at you, any fuzzy business. Carroll knows the game is up here and certainly will be. Rise is going to be the one to confirm the kill here. 2 versus 5 for an hour Spire for the remainder of this round. Shady and Casper, all that stand between this one and Entropy storming on through. Unless they can make some magic happen here. Shady going to be swinging out here into the corridor, finds one. Knows about to play at bottom Spire, but can't quite find the gun type. Rise trades it back. Casper getting aggressive onto the diffuser here. However, just has to try and get what they can, but unfortunately not going to be enough. Diffuser down, Bassy closes it out, and it's going to be an early round here taken by the side of Entropy.
Even ended up running outside the breach just in case. That was a way to get some vision through that smoke, right, and turn back around and look behind you, but it wasn't enough. The planter tucked just into the corner on the left-hand side of that breach. Quite difficult to spot and identify, but again, it all starts to go wrong for Aspire when Entropy just get that opening. They get those 2 picks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Dreams caught out upstairs. It's unfortunate. It happens, right? When you're bringing this Jackal, they're showing this real desire to get that guaranteed information on where the defenders are playing off-site, then use the fact that you could overwhelm with numbers into a roam setup to try and punish them, and it ended up being a very easy affair, right? Because you just give an angle on vertical and walk into his line of sight. It happens. It's something that they'll be a little bit more cautious of in the coming rounds now, and maybe that little wake-up call is all you really need, right? A little nudge, say, guys, let's chill out a little bit, let's not get caught off guard. But the rest of it, it just came down to that really strong push onto the site from Entropy, right? They had that clear idea, let's smoke off the long angles, we happened to get a nice little pick onto Pillar as well, that's never going to hurt.
Exactly, and they just set themselves up for success from early on in that one, of course. As you say, breach open, vertical open, everything they needed in that round was theirs, and then you add on the 2 extra picks going there early on. It's as simple as that. Success in Siege is off sometimes can just be quite that straightforward. This time round though, Entropy, I think they're going to be going to try and keep the aggressive pacing up here. I'm seeing that Amaru coming in, and you know immediately what that means, Golu. It's going to be this plant attempt here, right on this window we're seeing. Are you not a fan of this?
No, I think it's terrible. It's just a grapple simulator. We'll go in. I like that they're doing the work with the buck. They are going to try and clear out behind the desk, because again, if you go flying in, you're just going to, it's not even a buck, it's a Ying shotgun, sure. Like, this is what I mean though, it's like, we're sitting here, and they have to play for this bird, right? And so this is what we're seeing them take that pressure, Aqua coming in downstairs as well. I do like to see that they're putting in the work to make sure it's safe to go for, but you've still got Vulcan canisters, and you've still got 3 Toxic Babes and a Nitro Cell. Like, this is plenty here for Aspire to just throw util and buy out time, because ultimately that's the most important thing they can try to do. An EMP shot out, but again, that's not going to do enough.
No, that's it. Here it comes. The players will actually seemingly be able to stick the plant down. Does the C4 catch the mark, though? That's the question. No, it won't. The fuser is down on Entropy. Risk has met reward. These air jabs doing massive work here for the side of the attack. Alpha gets one. Wizard does trade it back, though. So it's 4 versus 4. But this is an insanely difficult post plant here for the defense to recover themselves from. As you can see, the attackers, they can just play on the window. They're going to go running out there. We are going to find one. But Entropy, they're still coming out on top here. Toxic Babes be damned. It doesn't matter for anything here. Players just coming in from behind. And Entropy, it's bloody, but they're holding on to it. They get the idea, and it works to perfection. And Golu, can that one slightly change your mind on that attack strategy at all? Or are you still not liking that?
I still don't like it. I still don't like it. Look, fair play to Entropy Gaming. They pulled it off. But I just think this is, like, so bizarre, no? Like, the moment you hear the grapple going in, you throw a Toxic Babe. This is just, like, how the rotation works. And so we're seeing them fly in, and there's no util to meet it. There's nothing being done. Like, a Nitro Cell's thrown out, but it's thrown out at an angle where it just isn't going to connect, right? Like, you're throwing it out into the middle of the open, getting knocked down by an air jab, bit unfortunate, but again, like, we can just shoot this air jab. It's just on the floor in the middle of space, right? There's zero reason why we're getting caught off by that. I think ultimately it's just a couple of mistakes coming out from Al Aspire. I think they're just caught off guard. They weren't ready for it. But we've seen Entropy play this map. We've seen them do this exact take again. And when you look at what fundamentally was happening there, what have they done? They've sent a Ying with a shotgun down below. They've got a sledge down below. And then there's 2 players sat on rappel on the window. Guys, they've given you the rest of the map to do with whatever you please.
And
There
they're
should
just
be
not.
zero way that just flying in a window is enough.
Yeah. It's the simple things I think that are sort of creaking through here, really, especially for the side of Entropy. I mean, I'm looking at Consulate as a map as a whole here, right? It's as a map, you want to be getting rounds over the line on the defensive side, don't you? It's a defender-sided
Yeah.
map. Typically, we see the defense coming out on top. And I said right at the start, Aspire need a 4-2 half if I'm going to feel comfortable about going into the second half for this one. And guess what? Entropy, they've done their job already. We're 2 rounds in. They've won 2 of them, and they've gotten both of these attacking rounds across the board. So really, they could completely fall off a cliff for the rest of this half here, but I'd still say they've done an all right job of it. They've gotten the 2 rounds they've needed, and for Aspire, I think the issue is it's a real uphill battle from this point because you've just lost 2 rounds here. Entropy going for a long, committed roam clear game, and it works out for them. They go for a direct rush take. It also works out for them. Aspire, you've got the tertiary bomb site being played now. What can they do?
Attackers have discovered the location of a bomb.
Not sure. This is the hard one. I do want to quickly pull back. If you sat here going, but surely that window can work. Look, you need to play for the rest of the map as well. You need to have active pressure on Spiral. You need to be opening up the breach onto Theatre. You need to be pushing up yellow stairs and contesting onto Zulu with flashbangs, with grenades to try and clear out any potential deployable shields
10
or
seconds to go.
Melusi Banshees that are set around the corner. That's what you need to do. That's how you do it. But back to the present. It is going to be this middle floor, and again, Alispire want to hold above. This is really, really important. You want to have that vertical going down because it is so easy to clear out onto the site itself if you're not playing upstairs. They can go above as the attack for free. They can bring tools like a sledge, a ram. The Bucks banned away, but traditionally you could bring that as well. And there's so much floor down into site, practically the entire thing, that is able to be opened from above. So you're sat inside a site, the attack's not ripping it open, and you get gunned down. They are extending quite far as well, closing off all the doors around Visa and Admin too. This again is another thing I really like to see. It's a way of trying to slow down this attack. Of course, they're leading the charge with the Blackbeard, who can just vault through these, and knowing that the door behind it is also barricaded, it's a lot of safe space for them to gain. Now we're seeing Entropy start to open up the sideline as well. So pressure is slowly starting to be put on the rest of this defense as they're sending drones forwards ahead of this shield.
That's it. A lot of emphasis placed on this extended game here from Aspire, but currently no payoff for it. Dreams is looking to get aggressive here, try and find an early pick back. Does a little bit of damage on towards the Amaru, but unable to confirm the pick. No choice there but to retreat back towards the objective, bring the fight forwards a little bit, let it come over towards that checkered hallway. The question is, where did the attack respond round? And it seems like a well-cohesive unit. You can see there, far corner of your screen, that Entropy are going through yellow. They're using the whole map available to them. And despite initial suggestions from Aspire saying they want to go all over this top floor, they're just getting sandwiched in right now, and Entropy are going in for the kill. They're keeping up the pacing, and you can see these defenders, they're moving around here and not really sure what to do next.
Mirror window popped open as well, but it's taking a lot of damage trying to get outside of this window. Wants to reposition. Again, all in the goal of trying to clear out this top floor. Blackbeard still, again, wants to push up long. But this defensive structure is holding well for the time being. It looks like they're going to try and drop down behind onto yellow for the cutoff as well.
This is big risk here. Wizard with the C4 in hand, but you can see here Dreams has the crossfire. It's eventually being pulled back. C4's going to do a little bit of damage. Unable to quite confirm the kill, but here comes Tom on a bit of a supported position here. Takes down Casper, opens it wide up for the side of Entropy, finds a second over towards Wizard, and suddenly this defense on the top floor here is reduced to 0. Dream's going to be falling. It's 2 versus 5 yet again. And I'm just sitting here going for Aspire. It was a great start. It was a great idea yet again. But Entropy, they're winning the gunfights, they're coming out on top, and where do Aspire find their way back into this one? Because I've got to call it, Golu, I don't see them getting them back this round.
Yeah, it's if Carol can pull off a masterclass upstairs. You've still got Shady on the site. It is the Legion as well, but with this Frost being chased down yellow by the Blitz, it's going to be rough when you encounter, but he looked the wrong way!
But no, the cross for the teamwork is there, and that's key. Bassi able to take them down, and then Sad Becky from behind takes down Shady, and it's going to be Entropy. 3 in a row there. They've played 3 of the sites that you're going to commonly see on this consulate, and guess what? Entropy have stormed through all 3 of them. Not really being challenged too much yet. Whatever they want to try, whatever they want to seem to do, Aspire don't seem to have the answers. They're going to go back up towards that top floor now, giving it another go. Of course, we saw it in round number 1. They put a lot of commitment on the extended game. Round number 1, that was what they did. They played out. We saw that Solace playing far away. They're not going to be committing to that again, at least in operator lineup. Likely going to be changing up the pace in here because they need to change something, right? Golu, because right now, Entropy, they're just playing their game and they're comfortable doing so. And they're 3-0 up. They've already exceeded expectations for this half here.
Again, it's just rough, man. Like, 3 rounds in, 3 losses on the defense. That last round being a complete wash as well. I mean,
Yeah.
Entropy just had the right idea. The double shield, just to be able to push up these corridors, right? Really enforce the close quarters gunfights. I love the rotation from Tom as well at the end, getting onto yellow. He drops down when they're all focused on this Blitz Blackbeard combination.
10 seconds left.
It's all just really, really well thought out. And again, I mean, just like, this is the sort of thing I want to see in that round 2. I want to see this link-up play, this backstabbing attempt, this jump and aggression well timed by Tom. Like, that's how you win top floor really, really consistently, I think. But maybe not consistently, but gives you a good chance.
Yeah.
By the way,
top floor,
they cleared out top floor, right? And
yeah,
once you see why you need to play it, because once you have top floor control, that site is impossible to sit in.
Yeah, that's it. You need to make sure that top floor is controlled. And the case, well, it seems like Entropy, they might be giving the same thing they tried in round number 2 ago here. You can see it, Ying's playing below on the shotgun in the place of the buck. That is, of course, banned out here. So whether that's Aspire doing a little bit of target banning, because it seems to me a pattern's emerging here. Entropy like to play this game, and not having the buck on board, it does make it a bit more difficult to do so. But it doesn't seem to want to stop them from committing to it here. Kara's going to be taking a bit of damage here as Entropy just chipping away at the health of the Spy here. They're still 5 on 5. They've still got this one. But with the utility coming in, I've got a feeling they're just going to start pushing on in now.
Ying's coming through, and again, this is currently just buying time, because without having cleared out the desk, you can't commit to anything. Dreams down below takes down Ying, and you lose one of these methods for actually dislodging the mute. Carol, so safe to sit there, and they have a second downside as well. You see what happens when you're ready for it. They're boxed out the map, and Entropy are just stuck here.
Yeah, and that's it. Look at the utility loss from that link. 4 Candelas, 2 smoke grenades gone in pocket. You've now only got 3 stuns and a frag grenade left to work with. That is so much better here for Aspire. They're going to be going through, but look at this Entropy. They're not trying the top floor here, but it doesn't matter because they're not winning any gunfights here. Casper finds Alpha, 3 versus 5 now. Entropy, for the first time all game, in a disadvantage. However, Tom wants to keep it fighting, takes down Dreams here, and the players start getting aggressive from Aspire. They just need to retreat. They just need to run back here at this point. Play it with the team, play it as a go. Casper going to be going, keeping that warning all the way down back in towards the basement, and it's just working off here. Takes down Bassi, and now it's 2 versus 4 for the attack, and I'm sitting here going, right, how do they go? Because look at the utility they've got. Not a lot left. They've got time, but now they've only got 1 player standing.
Yeah, and Tom caught out immediately as Wizard just gets 1, walks down, gets a second, but Aspire, that is what I love to see, by the way. That's how you do it. You just sit down below, you wait for someone to make a load of noise and run on in, you get a free kill, and then everyone else is like, oh well, we can't get rid of our desk player now. Oh no, we can't clear the desk. Bro, Carol's just sat there chilling. The entire thing literally felt like they were literally at 1 minute 40 sat on rappels, just like twiddling their thumbs, being like, this don't look good, boys.
Yeah.
Any suggestions?
Yeah, and that's it. You could see they were waiting for something to happen there from Aspire for a couple of seconds. You can see they were sort of anticipating someone to do something silly and give the round back to Entry, but no. Aspire, they have the discipline to just hold it out, play it properly, and it gets them the round. It's one that they needed, and they really need to tie it up here. Issue is that top floor not going to be able to play it anymore this half. So we're going to be going down towards the basement objective, which was played back all the way in round number 1. Feels like a while ago. However, the game from Aspire seems to be a little bit different this time. They're going with the scopos, they're going with the poles. That indicates to me they want to fight over every inch of this map.
10 seconds remaining.
It is interesting, right? Because it's basically a slight differentiation of what they did before with the Solace, where you have this tool that can gather info on the drones. This time, I think this is an attempt to lean into that Jackal angle, right? Because we saw this big push from Entropy to make sure they are hunting every last person. Interesting that they're going to have the Scopo setting up downstairs as well, so it's another tool that can let you quickly get back to the bomb site and back to safety if you get cornered out. It is obviously quite dangerous if you're trying to switch and you get caught, but for the time being, not going to happen.
She's just going to play it up here all the way on the top floor. And as you say, the minute the pressure becomes too much for that Jackal, you can just retreat away. And then, of course, Casper is going to know where that idle shell is. You can then tag team them together. And then as soon as the attackers start approaching that shell on the top floor, you can have a C4 ready. And then as soon as you read the mark on the heartbeat scanner, blow them away from the round there. It's great work. I like the idea there coming in from Aspire. Speaking of, though, Entropy, they have the IQ. Of course, quite a direct counter here to the Valkyrie being brought, and that's going to limit the intel that the defense want to play around it. It's been, as Shady is moving through this top floor position here, you're going to be doing a little bit more blindly, and as you can see, having to be cautious. Thinking for a position here, this vending spot might be a bit too hot for the minute, so just going to retreat away here. Still 5 on 5 though, but of course, yet again, it is a bit of time burning. But here comes Dreams. Maybe looking for something, maybe looking to try and contest this top floor. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, Entropy, they're doing a good job on this roam clear.
Yeah, and they found the shield, they're able to take it off the table. But it's done its job, right? It's eaten up a minute and a half on this top floor. Only now they're extending down below. This camera network being set up by Rise once again. So using these SAM cams to great effect, just putting them on all the important flank spots. And they can just have someone sit on drones or if someone dies. Narrowly, Valkyrie able to escape back to site. They're trying to get there to cut off the yellow rotation, but not in the nick of time. Dream safe and sound. You still got this pulse on board as well as the black eye cameras. So despite this floor being ripped up, the attackers be very careful as Tom taken to 1 HP. They're still hunting another body. I think that's the Ram they're still looking for too, but doesn't matter. They take Casper down.
That's a shot needed by Aspire or Entropy there. Good one needed. That isn't Casper taken off the board here. However, there is a lot of defensive utility still played. Those solo canisters going to be stalling out, and Carol finds one more, and that makes things really difficult now for Entropy. You've lost the presence outside that main room. Eventually, you will get it open. Basket will still be there to be able to play it on in. Has to try and get this player behind Pillar, but doing that solo is monumentally harder than it is doing it together. So they're not going to stop, though. There's no reason to stop, and they can't stop. Breach is going to have to get open. Hatch is going to be opened wide on up. Here comes Betchy all the way in from behind here, and this could be huge, because I don't think that kitchen player has any idea that there's someone there. Well, never mind, they do. Dreams finds Betchy. Swings around back into the favour of Aspire, and Carol cementing that even further. So Ryzen going to be storming in there, but he's immediately the only one left standing here. His C4's being thrown. The might of Aspire weighing down, trying to take you out of this one, and the time is just going to do the talking here. Drop straight in, Wizard closes it out, and Aspire finally feel like they're back alive and really starting to fight in this one.
Yeah, they finally come to play, right? It's taken them a couple rounds to get in the flow of things. For those last two attacking defensive rounds, have got like a different team in control. Much better poised, much better at just eating up that clock and understanding their objective. I love the play with the Scopos. They're not overstaying their welcome. They're not trying to get too aggressive. They know that they just want to buy time and get out alive. So they're willing to play a little overly cautious almost, right? It's not a case of let me get in a gunfight and then try and hide and then try and teleport. It's like, look, I'll shut out my drones. The clock's at a minute 35. This is perfect for me to now disappear to site. I've done all the time wasting. I can't get caught out by a flank watch. I think that's almost a perfect example of how I want to see that Scopos used. And you see what it does to the attack, right? They're running down with such little time into Piano. They have to just start ripping open this floor and seeing what they can find on the vertical with very little care. I mean, they're able to get Casper. They take down the Pulse, right? That's a fantastic find for them. But it still doesn't matter if there's never really a good way to actually then get into the bomb site or start pushing out the positions being played. Security, still a monumental defensive center point, very much on the board. Pillar by radio, still very much on the board, still very much in play. It was really difficult for Entropy to break anything.
Yeah, you go to the end of that one and Entropy just don't have what it needs. They need at the end of that round there. It started off quite well, you got to give it to them, but it just, as soon as it got to that end little bit of the execute, it just kind of fell apart. Round number 6 though, final round of this first half. This one, I'm looking at the lineup on the attacking side there. 2 shields in the Damar room. Entropy want to go fast again. Aspire, they might have something a little back to answer with this aggression. They've got the Capcan who can punish anyone going in through these doorways a little too hasty, and they've got the Doc as well, an operator that we know's role on the team is basically use that MP5 and with that ACOG scope to swing anything and so, of course, we're going to be sitting here now. Breach is going to be starting to get open up. Entropy going to start to make on their way through. Of course, as is always for this objective here, they're going to need to be trying to work their way through, trying to work their way down, clear this top floor out first, in towards admin, in towards managers. C4's been thrown. but unfortunately, it's thrown on the wrong side of the room. Alpha's going to remain here and remain a massive problem for Aspire to have to deal with.
Still looking on the roof. Rome dropping down a little bit, peeking up through the verts as well. Still looking into Visa, but again, you're seeing this want to re-challenge, retake, but they've been punished for it. A lot of damage dealt onto Affler. He's had to back away and respect the fact they're suddenly in a much more vulnerable position than they were before. As Becky still pushing deeper and deeper across the rest of the top. Flank watch, I think Goyo might run into some trouble here.
Yeah, he's trying to run away from here, but guess what? You've got to run straight into the Blitz of Rise. Should be sent straight out of this round here. Entropy doing a phenomenal job of this top floor clear at the minute. We've only got one more player to be dealing with here. That is Carol on the Valkyrie. Tucked away in this corner, and I don't know if they have 100% of an idea. And you can see the intel is being fed through to this remaining defender as well. Never mind, they know. Grenade's been thrown. 3 or 4 use of the utility there. Alpha's going to clear them out here. Entropy, they should be cemented with this round now, really. It's just 2 remaining. It feels like what we've seen before. And it seems like they're inevitable. They might come out this half 4-2 here. Vertical work's going to be coming on through. Down below, what can the defense have to offer us?
Well, they're able to get 1 onto Rise. Blitz gone. Immediately traded by Affler, though.
So, and Nash the Shady, all that remains, but remain not for long. Bassie's going to be the one to close it out. And Entropy, they get themselves a 4-2 attack in half on Consular, which immediately says to me, they're here to play. Bardo's last 2 rounds that they lost, and that was really on Aspire waking up. The other rounds here, they've looked immaculate. Entropy. You can see here on this top floor clear, they're pushing players through, they're clearing them out methodically, they're using their utility to do so, which is the key. Everything that is available to Entropy, they're using it, taking advantage of it, and that's why they're walking away with that advantage.
I think a 4-2 half is great for Entropy here, right? It's their map pick, so it's a map they want to close out convincingly, and putting yourself up at this lead is a great start to do that. I think defensively, Aspire were a little all over the place, right? Some rounds they looked really, really good. I mean, their second attempt at these sites were what really stood out to me. When they showed that they could know how to play these sites, the well-timed aggression coming into Entropy, stopping them from setting up down below and attacking the top floor, a really great understanding of how you want to buy time on the roam game and using the fact that lots of your spots inside a site aren't approachable. I think this was really, really well done to watch each other's backs. They're now coming into the attack, though, and they need to find a way to try and change up the pacing of this game. I'm looking at their lineup immediately coming out. Nothing too special to show, but I really like the addition of this Flores. It's a great way to have pressure from outside the map where you can deal with some of these tools that are being deployed. You can try and get these Vulcan canisters gone, and ultimately there's not a whole lot more utility than that. There's maybe a deployable shield down as well. But the idea of bringing it just in case there are things like the Banshees trying to cover these flank angles, it lets them remove things like barbed wire as well, just setting up for later in the round where you can be a lot more explosive with your pushes because you've removed all the supporting util.
This reads to me like a very, very standard lineup here from the side of Aspire. They're not leaning into any specific play style here, bringing in something that, as you sort of highlight, Golub, it's a bit of a jack of all trades, right? Bringing the Flores just in case you need it. You've got the flank watch, you've got the end of round utility in the form of that Grim. They've got a lot of questions, they've got a lot of solutions here. It doesn't seem like there's a specific goal in mind, rather than to perhaps just play the round out default, sort of how you'd expect to see it here. Try to chip away at these players, hold this in extended positions, and then immediately take the round from there. Ryzen going to be over towards the admin side here, looking to hold on to it for as long as possible. Carol's been the one sent in to try and deal with them, but you can see that Doc doesn't want anything to do with that gunfight anymore. It's just going to retreat back. Aspire, they're starting to take the map control now, at least on that admin side, but the question really lies in what do they start to do with it.
Ooh. Taken down, Bassi from prone through a punch hole to catch him on the feet holes. Very cheeky angle looking down into the cafeteria doorway. You can understand why Shady didn't see it coming.
Oh yeah, that feels like a ranked angle almost. You see that in ranked and you see the kill cam and you go, I can't believe I just died here. It's unfortunate, but it is unfortunately is the way this run's going to lie. Luckily, I do feel that Nomad got a little bit of the utility out before she did die, so it's not the end of the world. But yet again, it's Aspire going to be going into the final minute of this round now. Man disadvantage, which just isn't where they want to be right now, especially with the style of round they're going for, but it's heavy on that execute.
They're still looking for util with these Rotero drones as well, trying to get them in. Casper gets aggressive onto Rise. Able to punish the Doc for overstepping, even if you do take a lot of damage. And again, you're seeing now this ability to flank up Spiral Staircase established because they've removed all the util around it. They got rid of the barbed wire. They got rid of the barricade. But it doesn't matter if Bassie's hitting heads.
No, Bassi gets rid of Dreams there, and yet again it's Aspire having to crawl their way back into this one. The flank coming up from Spiral has been firmly read into. Veggie looking to contest it, but does eventually go down in the process. Aspire, they're going to use this to start pushing up here. They need to start looking at this objective now because time is quickly going away, but so are their players. Alpha's going to be taking down Casper. That's 2 versus 4 now for the attack. Times against them, man counts against, and look at this. Bassi using that Shumika launch to force Carol in, but it does give Carol in the line of sight on towards Tom. Claims the kill back, stuck behind the table, 2 versus 3, but the issue is the time here. Wizard keeps it viable here for the side of Aspire, and how about that? A massive triple at the end of that one there, covering the diffuser perfectly, and it's going to be Aspire taking their first attacking rounds here. Huge. Absolutely
It's a great way to start. It's honestly amazing for them, right? And I really like their approach from it. They're not messing around with this stupid Gara hook through a window and live life on a prayer. They've actually decided, you know what, guys? Let's play some solid fundamental siege. They're using the fact that there's 2 windows, well, 2 sides with windows. Technically it's 3 windows. Okay. Technically it's 3. But they're using the 3 windows available to get into admin. And once they're there, they're just controlling the round. They're pushing back. They're opening the external breach. They're playing around Spiral. I love the use of the Rotero drone, forcing out corners, you know, getting rid of behind vending. You have long angles that you can challenge onto and try and take gunfights, but they're using Grimbies to force these angles to be very difficult to challenge, right? Grimbies being sent long. Rise doesn't respect that and swings into it and gets punished for it. Because you're tracked. Like, they have a permanent track on you. Of course you're going to lose that gunfight. Or at the very least, you should always be losing that gunfight. It's a great job by Aspire. Everything they do, just walking to that top floor, is putting them in that controlling position. And that's what you need to do as an attacking unit.
That's it, and the key there really for me was, what stood out to me more than anything, well, it was simple. It wasn't over-engineered, it wasn't over-complicated. It doesn't matter how fancy the house looks. At the end of the day, it's all about the foundations and Aspire.
They had strong foundations. I think that's where that was going.
This time around, Entropy, well, they're going to be coming on through here, of course, setting out with a similar lineup to what was tried before. Going to be giving things another go. Of course, that Chanka pick, we saw a little bit of use out of it in the previous round, but it almost, in a weird inadvertent way, sent Aspire up for success, sending that player into swinging to get the kills. Now, this bandit trick game is key. Tom should be good for it.
I don't know why we needed to pick the other... Oh, there's none in inventory. That's interesting. I would want to be keeping one in inventory just so I can do that a little bit easier. They could have kept it fully closed. You still do get 1 Selma off, which is quite nice, but they have a little bit of an opening now, so they can still try and mess with you if you go for a second trick, if they commit more EMPs, or they can just send like a nade over the top of it or something. I don't know. It's a little less safe than it could have been if you're just giving yourself that extra, but the rest of the util focused again on clearing out as much of this top floor as possible, and you have the Twitch, you have the Flores, they're getting all the util they need to do. I'm loving this once again from Aspire.
So great what they're doing here. They're just playing it. They're just slowly ticking away at what Entropy have available to them. Just one by one, removing the pieces of utility. And it's really all about options for Entropy, right? As the further this round goes on, the more utility they use and the more utility that Aspire take out, the less options that Entropy have to play here. And you know, if you run out of options, you know Aspire are going to take full advantage of that situation. Do what they did in the last round and just send them inside to get the eliminations here. See, they're starting to make their way across here, playing out similarly to how it was before. But look at this, we've still got over a minute left to go, and there's only 1 Toxic Babe left in the pocket of Rise. Sure, you have the Shumikas, but you can tell the utility game and wasting coming that Aspire are playing into right now, it's working really well for them.
I am concerned about this Tachanka though, right? I mean, again, this plant spot, it's very telegraphed. It's very small as well. So you get perfect cover. I think this might be the best site for Tachanka on the map. And they still have to deal with the fact they got smoke up close. He trades one out, and they're still playing to plant on this corner. But again, the Shumikas fly over the top and buy another second of time. After on a switch across onto Carol as Tom goes down 2. Aspire on the back foot with the aggression never ending. You might get a trade, but sad Becky just runs up into your face. That's a crazy range with a shotgun.
That is huge there from the shotgun players of us of Entropy there. Of course, you can see there that they were waiting in the objective there, but the minute they smell a bit of weakness amongst the ranks of Aspire, you can see it here in the replays. They just get aggressive. They just start to try and take that territory back here, swinging out into checkers, which normally it's a little bit of a no-go. Sometimes swinging back that way once you've lost it as a defender, that's a surefire way to see yourself out of the round. This time round, though, for Entropy, they played it well. They realised the weaknesses that were there when they spotted them, and they just took full advantage of it. Aspire lost that round there, and as you saw, now, yet again, that lead has
Attackers
been
need to
extended to
locate
2
and
here.
defuse bombs.
Entropy, only 2 more needed to close out map 1.
Well, 2 more to go. They get to go down to basement as well. They ran back the top floor. They figured out what went wrong for them the last time, namely giving too much space, not having that contention. They focus more on the crossfires that they could establish. Now they're coming back downstairs. It'll be interesting to see how they approach this. Again, you've got the Mozzie, who... We've seen a decent bit of this Mozzie presence, right? I mean, more than I kind of would have expected to see necessarily. I'm not sure if this is a console preference, perhaps, or if this is a team preference. But either way, getting to see them try and shut down the information game with this. I mean, both teams have had their tools, right? One was the Solace, then the Pulse. This time around, it's that Mute and Mozzie combination.
Yeah, intel really is helpful, and we saw it especially on Entropy's attacks as well. Something that perhaps Aspire haven't really played into as much is that 0 pick, especially on this basement site. They brought it a couple of times. I like these operators that are getting the intel here, of course. Casper, though, is on that Twitch, and as you saw there, getting rid of Mute Jammers, all of this utility that Entropy are bringing to giving themselves the intel. Aspire do typically have the answers back the other way so far. And of course, they've got some intel gathering operators of their own. Dream going to be on the Jackal, one that we've seen quite extensively so far throughout this matchup, and I'd say rightfully so, right? Both these teams on their defenses, they've been playing quite extended, and the Jackal is perfect for punishing those players who are isolated on an island on their own.
Okay. A lot of patience here. Aspire really want that drone information. My concern is that these drones are going in with no one, right? I mean, you look at it, we're a minute in. Drone shot out, what happens now? Goyo disappears once again into that network of rooms on the middle floor. We're now entering the building, and I mean, guess where Goyo is? He's ready to meet you at the doorstep. Do trade it out, so good job by Dreams, I guess. Now can use the Inox tracker to hunt down Afla. Still pinned out the building by Vasi, though.
Yeah, and my other concern here is look at what you've lost for the attack, right? You've lost the Ram, an operator that is instrumental for this vertical game, and with the Buck banned, you're limited with your vertical options, of course, but the one ability that you do have on the side of Aspire to do that vertical, that Ram, she's taken off towards. It's essential to keep Dreams alive right now, because he's the only one with some other potential soft breach and utility here, but you can see here, Alpha looking to swing out onto it, has the idea that the players in lounge here, and yet again, Aspire, they've sent the drones in, but unable to really do anything off of the back of it. Carroll does finally take down Vasi, though, and that's a glimmer of hope here for Aspire. Final minute of the round now. They need to start to look at how they can convert this one down, but they still got Alpha to deal with on this top floor here.
And he's just sitting patiently. No movement, no stress. Carroll very much aware that someone's around, but again, Dream can't get these footsteps because they've all disappeared. You're relying on actually walking into him.
And they confirm they know where Alpha is right now. You have to go for the retreat here. But as you run away, you can turn that gun back around and try and take down a few attackers with you here. You're going to get one, but you're going to get immediately traded back. It keeps Aspire in the advantage position. Good teamwork from them to keep close enough to be able to support each other here. Jackal can try and find Tom down below. Can try and find that Cade, know exactly where he's going to be. Know he's going to be playing close here. They're going to swing into it. They're going to find it, and that is key there. So actually, all that remains here, but not for long. Dreams close it out, and Aspire, that is just a good round there. It's a little bit, I won't lie, it was a little bit of a slow start to that one, but they got the job done. They cleared on through, and they got the job done at the end of the day, as I seem to be repeating myself a bit. They got it through all the way, and they now find themselves one round away yet again from tying the game back up.
I think Aspire are really fortunate to get that round. If I'm being completely honest, I was not impressed, really. They're coming in, there's a bit of pressure coming through that top floor. I do like the sweep, but there needs to be that Jackal on the drone. I don't know why we're spending a minute just sending drones in to die. What do they gain for that? It's not until they just decide, okay, unironically, with 0 drones, let's go in through lobby and just see what's there, and they get gunned down, they turn it into a trade. It's just this face checking into
Attackers
trading, and
discovered
they
the
could have
location
been
of a
giving
bomb.
themselves an extra minute to play with if they just done that in the first place. I think it's just a little time wasty coming in from Aspire, and that's something they really can't afford to be. You look at that end state. Actually, you know what? From that 3 versus 4, I don't think Aspire should be winning it. I think Entropy
Not at
Gaming
all.
are putting themselves in a bad position to take these 1 versus 1s. They're walking up straight into their face in the open, waiting for them to swing around the doorstep. And you know what? Maybe it's fortunate that
10
Shady got that
seconds
headshot, but he's got the full auto weapon. You have to be hitting those shots with
5 seconds
TCSG
left before
at that
insertion.
close range. If you're bringing a slug shotgun, you have to make
Attackers'
every
objective
shot
is to
count.
defuse a bomb.
And you lose out the gunfight, and suddenly it's 3 versus 1. There's so much space on site. You win that instead, you pinned them down, even if you have a crossfire established, right? Becky's so withdrawn by having to watch the spiral to let you do this, but if both just picked one side, maybe that works. I don't know, there's some sort of way to line this up, but from a 2 versus 3, there's only 2 spots you have to watch.
And it just comes down to unfortunate gunfights there, I think, for Entropy. Aspire, there wasn't really, as you said, there was nothing in that round that really should have taken them there. Twitch coming on in now to try and deal with it. It's something we've seen them use extensively. Great for the utility game. Are able to catch one of those electro claws, forcing Tom to use one of the others. That does remain. Elsewhere, though, Dream's going to be upstairs on the top floor, clearing it out here. However, it seems like a much more anchor-centric lineup from Entropy this time. Focusing around that clash, focusing around slowing the push when it comes to it at the end of the round. And they're going to be playing for this basement side itself. And that should give Aspire the key to go fast, the key to move through the map a little bit. But yet again, we're a minute in now, and there's only one player inside the building still.
And again, another kind of nothing beginning to this. We're starting to get drones again coming through. We do have the Spur middle control, but no movement, no fighting as of yet, because again, Entropy Gaming, they're sitting much further back this time around. They're giving a lot more space. The Ram's starting to rip open the floor as they retreat into security, where it becomes relatively safe. Yep. Pull out the SMG again. Don't know why we're running around with the Deagle. I like this a lot nicer.
Yeah, SMG certainly going to do a better job of it. But look at the C4s Entropy have as well, right? Of course, if the vertical game is played into there by Spire, they can just blow them right up, but maybe they won't need to. Alpha's going to be taken down. Dreams immediately putting Entropy on the strong foot forward. It's round 1 of those C4s going to be used. Not quite going to be able to beat detonated there to score one of those boosting drones. While the vertical work is coming up for Aspire here, I have to wonder, Golu, what are they going to be using of it? Because right now, Entropy are looking really strong, and they're looking stronger by the second. As Sadbecci going for another, can't quite find it, but the statement's been made. Wizard does trade it back eventually, get it back down. But 3 versus 4, I'm not sure about this one for the attack.
Still looking on verticals, trying to walk down Spiral as well, but Casper such a difficult angle to try and fight against between the side of the Spiral corridor. The drop down the hatch underneath, the smoke being thrown to give them as much cover as possible. But there's no opening on the single panel there, so this coffee door just being open to give themselves a little bit of space. The clash, this ever-standing beacon of information just tearing down, but Jaeger's just running to the middle of nowhere!
Drop the bomb diffuser.
Oh no, that is disastrous.
15 seconds remaining.
Be losing the picks like that. It's Wizard now remaining 1 versus 3. You see the clash, and then they're just going to swing out and claim the round. Entropy, they funnel in Aspire. There is nothing Aspire can do in that situation. They're stuck down a corridor. You've got a clash in your face. And unfortunately, in that situation, what is the answer? Like, genuinely for Aspire, what can they do to get themselves into that one? You've tried to exploit the vertical. You've tried to exploit all other options available to you, but they're unsuccessful in doing so. They're so unsuccessful, and it's unfortunate because if they should have clocked on a little bit earlier in that one round. I'm going to bring it right back to the start of these rounds, right, Golu? Because the last 2 rounds for Aspire, if the start has been one thing, it has been slow. Snail's pace start for Aspire. And I think that's what's really biting them in the back there, because they go into the end of that with 20 more seconds available to them. Sure, the man advantage isn't your way still, but I think it looks a lot better than that one did.
Yeah, I think just giving yourself that time to play with, you need to do it. It needs to be done. The fact that they're not, it's leading into these situations, like you say, and I don't know what the change needs to be from them. I can't say that it's just walking in with the drones. Because their understanding of like what they need to do with the round is fine. They're making sure they bring enough tools for vertical. They're making sure that they bring
10 seconds left before insertion.
everything they need. Quite literally everything they need to do. I mean, you've seen Aspire on second top floor when there isn't this same concern with time because of how close you get to the bomb site immediately. They look so much more concise. It's when there's a roam and a threat of a roam as well, right? Because there wasn't anything slowing them down. If you're walking in with a drone, you would have just had that space. They got it decently quickly as well, to be fair to them, right? We're talking a minute 40 and they're already working on vert. That last round, I think Aspire looked a lot better. Unfortunately, they just couldn't find a way to break open with that vert. They weren't getting the site open at the same time. You know, they're not getting the main breach done. This time, they just decided to shortcut it. They broke the Maverick so they can get the Bandit battery off and immediately go for it. Impossible to try and trick off now. I like this adaptation as well. Something that caught them out before that they can get rid of, but a Nitro Shell.
What?
How's that still going?
What?
Carol's been robbed. Carol's been robbed.
Huh? How has that one gone off? You know what? I'm not going to question it. Just siege things, as sometimes can be. That is really unfortunate for Aspire because you've lost the hard breach, you've lost the ace, still had a Selma in pocket, still had an AK-12 in hand, and guess what? He's down, gone for the count there. Tom from the grave does not want to let it go there. And it's 4 versus 4 now. What should have been a really strong start for Aspire. Well, we're still on even footing here. We've got just over half the round to play. But looking to get aggressive. Sad bet she's going to be able to find Casper. And this admin side of the map is getting heated up yet again here. Do the defense have what it takes to hold on to it? Because right now, the members of Aspire, they're faltering down. And they've got to try and work their way back into this round.
Walking up, Spiral as well. The door's still there. They haven't had those Retero drones to get rid of it like they did the first time around. Spots the leg, takes a spray shot, but it's not going to connect with anyone. I bet she's still down. The attack now pushing up towards Vending as Wizard takes it down. Aspire, in spite of their unfortunate circumstances at the start, have completely flipped this round on its head. 2 left to play. It's the Smoke and the Tachanka, with 3 attackers bearing down on them, smoothing quicker and quicker into sight as Dreams able to find Bassi, able to turn it onto Rise as well.
And the top floor goes all the way to Aspire, to the attack, and we are going all the way through to the brink of regulation. And this one is starting to heat up a little bit. Aspire are finally starting to feel their momentum a little bit here. That round was certainly better there. And, you know, Dodgy C4 at the start aside, they get the job done. They still fight on through, and they bring us all the way through to round number 12. Now, top floor is going to be played yet again. And I don't want to spell doom and gloom here, but following the trend so far this half, a site is brought, it's won by the attack. It's brought a second time, it's won by the defense. That happened with the top floor for the first 2 rounds of this half, and then happened again with the basement for rounds 3 and 4, sorry. So, I don't want to spell doom and gloom, but if history repeats itself, Entropy should take this one. But we'll have to wait and see. Of course, it seems like they're going to be going for the similar lineup again. Does it have what it takes to work this time around?
I think this, Travi, might be another overtime. I can feel it in my bones. Everything says that we should be able to see Entropy figure this out, but there's that suspicion
5 seconds left before insertion.
whispering in my ear that we're going to see another long overtime. And Consulate is going to be home to long overtimes as well. Like, this is just... You want to attack OT? Bro, the nerves are going to get you. But,
yeah,
Entropy Gaming, they still have a chance to push that at bay, to keep it away for a little bit longer. It's all about how they close out here. And again, I'm looking at this lineup. It's the same again. They clearly believe in a lot of the fundamentals of what they're doing. They've changed the Bandit for the Mute. They've recognized that Shady's locked onto this Maverick. He's not going to let them trick. They just get the Jammer. That's fine. You do that, they get the breach. You can still play around that. It's not necessary. I love this little change up. It's just risk reduction here, and it's such an important round.
Yeah, and it's that real key recognition of when you're trying something and it's just not going to work, don't try and force it until it sticks. If it's not going to work, just let it go, give something else a go. You've got so many operators, so many options in this game, and immediately it's changed around the way this one's being played out. You can see here, we're a minute in, we've still got all 10 players left standing. I don't think that's going to hang around for quite so long here. As you can see, this is Army of Sad Betchy being pressured up by the Twitch drone, forced to run around a little bit here. You see Aspire want to start to take control of this map, but with Veggie still running around, they don't want to go in, they don't want to commit to anything because they know the side of Entropy will just take it right away from them.
Still waiting now. Again, Kiva's being thrown, trying to lock this up for as long as possible. Now opening up the cafeteria wall, trying to give himself a long angle with which to contest. Again, you can pop up on these shells, look over the top, and it's quite an awkward angle to fight back from, just because of the line of sight being drawn by the attacker. Very difficult to see back onto the head of the attacker, at least. They're normally shooting at your toes. Candela rolled out, try and buy that support to give them the time, but escapes through the network as Carol runs forwards. Wizard goes down and Bassi gets a second, but they storm into sight in spite of the losses.
And that's it, Aspire, they can't slow down now. They have to embrace this chaos. They just have to try and send it through. They know there's a player top towards Spire. Alpha is cornered. Surely a dead man. But so is Carol, completely out of this one. Tom takes it down. Tom with another. And it's now all on the shoulders of Shady here to keep map 1 of Consulate alive. Can he do it? 1 versus 4. All of the players of Entropy, you know where it is. The breach should be able to go in there if you want to, but what's going in there going to get you? Well, Bassi goes to peek out the breach, does get taken down.
Don't throw
1
this,
versus
boys.
3 now.
No!
No! No! Golu, do not tell them to throw it because they will! It's a 1 versus 2 now, and suddenly it's a position where maybe you could argue it's winnable, but look at the clock at the top of the screen here. Shady's going to have to move, and he's going to have to move fast here. Diffuser's cold. Both players of Entropy hidden around. Going to play his crossfire to perfection, and eventually closed out by Tom. A massive, massive round from the Mute, and it's Entropy to come up strong on map 1.
I mean, that's a chaotic end if you want one. What should have been a shutout? Again, Entropy Gaming, they've shown this ability to lose a defensive round, figure out what's happening wrong, not even with Operate, it's just with playstyle. Risk reduction was the name of the game for that final round. Let's not put ourselves in positions to get caught off guard, and it worked tremendously well for them. I loved just the small shifts that they're able to do. In Entropy, they take map 1, Travi. They win out on their map pick of Consulate. That just means we've got a series on our hands.
That's absolutely huge. And I think I sort of said it at the start, right? Consulate is a map that's really liked by both these two teams here. Yep. So it's no surprise that it's going to be one that is going to be taken quite a distance. Unfortunately, not enough to see overtime in it, of course. But then, of course, we do focus our eyes over towards map number 2, Nighthaven Labs. Now, this one, it sits in the middle for both of these teams. It's one that sort of sits in the middle. They like playing it here and there. Entropy, recently, they are slightly worse off on results for it. So Aspire, there's a reason they've picked into it here. They think they've got what it takes. The question is, do they have it to bring it back and take us all the way to Lair? Or is it going to be a 2-0 closeout for the side of Entropy and they're going to get themselves in playoffs? To find out, we're going to go to map 2 shortly. But first, a little bit of a break.
Hello, welcome back just in time for map number 2 between Owlaspire and Entropy Gaming in our final deciding round. It's the Swiss, and one of these teams will be in the playoffs. They will get a quarterfinal spot, the other sent home with nothing. 1 map lead currently for Entropy Gaming. They took home Consulate, but we're getting ready for Nighthaven Labs. I'm Golimolu, joined by Travi. Is this Aspire's time to rise?
It has to be Aspire's time to rise, right? Surely. You look back at map 1 of Consulate, 7-5, so close, almost to overtime, but just a couple of rounds fall short for Aspire, and it costs them the entirety of it. Now, they move on towards their own map pick. They move on towards Nighthaven Labs, and it is an opportunity for redemption for them. It's an opportunity to right the little wrongs of map number 1 and bring it back all the way through. Entropy, they've earned themselves a little bit of a lifeline with this one. By winning that map, they can afford to lose Nighthaven Labs, and we go all the way to Lair. And I don't know about you, Golu, but I think I'd like to see 3 maps out of this one, because that first map, if it was anything, it was exciting all the way through.
It was a bit of a banger, you know? It was a very entertaining game back and forth. And I think, honestly, the team that just is the most consistent with their pushes is going to edge this one out. I think this is always kind of the case, right? When you come into these leagues and it's just about who can turn up more frequently in the rounds that matter, who can push that scoreline higher round by round. And You're coming into Nighthaven Labs, Entropy Gaming, getting to start on the defense. Obviously, it's Owl Aspire's map pick. And the way it works is one team picks the map, the other gets to choose their starting side. So, the defense for Nighthaven Labs, I think that's quite a big advantage. It's not as big as it could be. I think sometimes it's overestimated how important the defense is. But it definitely is defense biased. And I think attacking Nighthaven Labs can be quite hard at times. I think that's when you really have it locked down, you can win a lot on the attack. But defense is a bit tricky.
Yeah, and Labs to me strikes me as a bit of a map of opportunity, right? As you say, Golu, it's about who can really lock these objectives down. If you can do it good, you're all right, you'll get the job done. You know, often you will see an even half. But if you've got a team that is really, really great at Nighthaven Labs and knows exactly what they're doing, you can find this is like a gold mine of a map for them. It's a place of opportunity because, you know, we can't say it's perhaps one of the newer maps. Of course, it is one of the newer ones to the pool. But we've had a lot of time to play it now. But I still do feel there are teams, even these couple of years on, where there are teams that are going to be lacking, teams that are not going to be up to the mark where you need to be on Nighthaven Labs, and just that falling short in certain areas, that can cost them severely. Now, looking at recent results here, since March, Aspire, they played this map once, won it once. Entropy, on the other hand, they're a lot more familiar with it. They've played it 4 times. However, 3 of those have been losses. So Aspire, they don't bring it out as often, but they certainly are comfortable on it. Entropy, they're comfortable to play it, but maybe not as much in the win. And we're going to be heading, of course, into round number 1 now, where the defense is going to be getting things started off here. Control storage, middle site.
I'm intrigued by the start on middle floor. I do like storage and control. I think it's pretty good. Yeah. I like to see the castle come in as well. Great way of trying to restrict a lot of the movement coming in from the attack, and especially the longer angles that can be drawn. I'm expecting some form of cargo corridor down the side to be locked off, whether that's on the external window or on the single panel going into the staircase, just to give a little bit of movement over to the defense.
10 seconds.
Blocked off all of warehouse, of course. You don't want to give any of that space up.
5 seconds to
Expecting some batteries probably on that wall as well. Bye, Rise.
Objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Not joining the rest of the team on the other side of that barricade.
No, I'm going to be sent off, cut away, bye-bye. But one thing that this site screams to me, Golu, is it always speaks to me is a vertical objective, right? You've got a soft floor above, the soft floor below, and I'm looking at the operators being bought by Entropy. You've got Rise over on the Solace to be able to read out where the fuse is going down, as well as the Pulse that can play down below with the C4 in hand, ready to blow up any of that floor when a blind attempt is made here. So, immediately screams to me that Entropy have the idea what is to be brought at this objective, and as you said, it's not one we always see as the primary bomb pick site for a lot of teams, but it is certainly one that does have its merits. It's a bit of a unique site, but it's maybe not off to the best of start here, as immediately one player from either side is going to be taken down their Rise, making that Solid work, punishes dreams, and that's the entry of Aspire taking the forward.
Able to get away, just the main IT breach opens too. No ram, interestingly, so, or sledge, so trying to get vertical open, going to be a lot more difficult for Aspire here on the top floor. They're choosing to use the Twitch to try and gather as much info on the rest of this top floor setup as possible. Mirror shoots it out, denying them that extra insight just into the command center across. A missed over Nitro Cell, but does get recovered pretty swiftly, even if Tom's going down, and now they have to be very careful. That server pillar under control, but a good swing! But it's Wizard who lands the shots!
And that is massive there. Alpha really should have had that pick. Vasi, though, does eventually get Shady back, keeping Entropy with a fighting chance in this one here. But listen, the players that remain, they're droned out. The utility's been spent here. And despite, they've got plenty of time to deal with this. They've still got just under half the round to go through here. They've got flashbangs. They've got a decent selection of utility available to them to really sort of seal the deal here. And they've got that man advantage. Flashbang's going to be coming on in here, forcing the Solace to retreat away. No, because of the low man count, no one on the side of Entropy play that vertical. They're going to have to fight for this site. And despite Aspire maybe not having the options to open up that verticality, it's not really seeming to matter to them right now because they're just looking to circle on this gunfight, circle on this site, take the gunfights, get the kills.
You could be using that shotgun if you wanted to as Vasi from below, but wants to be around to lend support to Rise. Want to walk down warehouse stairs eventually. It's Wizard up on rafters for the time being. but they're just playing it slow. The attack know there's so much time to work with. 30 seconds is plenty when there's just 2 to find. So it's the head of Solace popping up over the counter and finds him just to the side of it. Vasi with 1 shotgun, but there's 1 on either side of the doorway. 1 for 1, but that's not enough when there's 2 more standing.
No, and you can see the idea there. You've got a semi-auto shotgun, one of the few that we do see quite consistently here up at this competitive level. And you saw the idea from Vasi, just go out swinging, spam that trigger. But I've got to give it to Wizard. That was a really nice shot for starters there, and a good response there from Aspire. I was a little bit worried for them when that Ash dropped, because of course that's the operator that probably would be with the idea of playing the vertical. Breaching charges in pocket, launcher as well. A lot of availability to open up the floors, but at the end of the day, Aspire don't need it. Entropy just lose key gunfights. Look at that mirror window on the top, and it just really costs them there. The off-site for their first pick, well, didn't really work out in their favour, and they're going to head to a site that we see a lot more commonly here on Labs to be favoured by these defensive teams, that of course being the top one.
Now upstairs, they don't want to run it back, and I think that makes a lot of sense, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I do understand why teams sometimes feel like, you know, they made a small mistake and they could try and change their fate and they want to have another crack. But why give the attack that repetition opportunity, right? Make them do something a little bit different, force them to change up something, and then you can come back to it later. Speaking of different, I mean, this lineup is almost 100% different. The only standby is Wizard, who isn't on the same operator himself, but it's the Ash that returns. The Blitz I like to see, Pepper the Thinker as well, so really leaning into that aggression when you want to, lets you run right up into your face and be very disrespectful to the defenders.
I mean, I don't mind being confused and say this is an Entropy lineup. Entropy really like to play aggressive with their attacks over on Consulate. Aspire, they were a bit slower at times, weren't really always leaning into the aggression, but this lineup here on Labs, it's a totally different story. They seem like they want to go fast, they seem like they want to be contesting things from early on. Tom, though, does want to stop this Ash. They have the yellow picks. I think both of them know where each other are. It's just a question of who's going to be making the move that costs one of them their life. Elsewhere, IT Ball could be getting fairly opened up here. Immediately, the sort of standard things you expect to see on this top floor side. Of course, you need to get the connector breach open, you do need to, of course, then get the internal site wall open, and then, of course, IT itself. There's a lot of work to do for hard breaches on this objective, but immediately Entropy are doing a good job by not being shaken from these positions to burn that time away from the attack.
Blitz still creeping around on the balcony outside. Betchy holding on to rafters for the time being, using these keybers to make it a safe barricade, but he's just going to jump on through. A couple sprays, but it's right into that riot shield. He knows what's up. The gig is up, but he's still going to hold on tight, using another keyber to try and isolate the angle, looking for the feet of the Blitz. Should he be bold enough to jump on forwards?
Yeah, should he be able to? That is the real question. Will he want to Aspire? They're still assessing their options here, but with half of the round gone, I think they really need to start to get a move on here. They've gotten some of the breaches open, they're starting to send the players on in, and this is what we want to see from them. Adrenal Surge likely going to signify that a push is coming on, but Carol immediately pushed back there, taking a lot of chip though. However, Betchy gets a little bit greedy, gets taken down by Wizard, and that puts Aspire in the driving seat for this one yet again.
Looking for the backstab as well, flanking around. Mira now has to be very cautious in the rotation from the Blitz too, just to maximize the efficiency of it. A quick trade from Rise, who got aggressive, but now staring down a shield with an LMG and an AR right behind it, lending its aim. The nade over the top, you're gonna go sky high. Blown to oblivion as they hunt their next 2 targets.
And that's it. They've got control of one of the sites now. Aspire, they could just try and force the defuse down. However, losing Wizard, that puts him in a difficult spot. Look at the health remaining on the players of Aspire. It's going to be boosted up temporarily, but with the impact grenades and the C4 available, but never mind, not for long. Carol and Casper going up huge for the side of Aspire, and it's the aggression from them that is just working out there. They just keep on going, they just keep on sending it, and yet again, it does take them a minute to get going, but once that train has left its station, there is no slowing it down.
And that's what happens. When you bring a Blitz, when you pair it with a Thinker, you get that flexibility. I mean, look at that end. How quickly is Blitz whipping that pistol down ADS? It's ridiculous. Aspire coming out in full force for these first 2 attacks. They have looked like a dominant force on Nighthaven, and it's kind of what we saw from Entropy at the start of last map. They come in to their map pick and just know what's up. They know ball. And I'm struggling to see what Entropy have to do here. They're running back the top floor again. They decided that, you know what, the basement isn't something that we want to mess with right
Attackers
now.
have located a bomb.
Let's try and figure this out. I think the first start, get rid of that mirror. I don't know if that's what's needed, but Vetchi needs to be a little bit more preservative, I think, on rafters. Stood around too long, knowing that there was a blitz lurking on that window, that there's Wizard pushing up onto Rafters' door. I think losing that really, really hurts.
5 seconds to
And
insertion.
it does. I mean, I'm going to defend Vetchi a little bit here because Aspire played these early rounds quite slowly. A couple of times we've highlighted it now. They like to slow things down in these early rounds. And in a way, I think it lurking the players of Entropy into a little bit of a false sense of security. Perhaps they're not ready to take these gunfights, but by almighty, Aspire, they are ready for every gunfight anyone throws at them. And it's something that's really impressive, right? Because you're going on to map number 2, you're a map down, and you lose this map, you're eliminated from the competition. The pressure for these players has got to be on right now. They have got to be feeling every ounce of it. But they're not playing like it's an elimination map. They're playing like we're back in round 1 of Swiss, and they're playing with a lot of confidence, and it's working for them so well.
Oh, late deployment there. Hey, better late than never, though. Still waiting to see where the next set of this push comes through. Again, Aspire, slow and steady at the start, but when they collapse, you know it's going to be very brutal. Jammers being deployed again. This time a lot more respect being given. They'll jump on through. They're much harder to go with this breach being closed on off. You have got an extra exothermic charge, but it depends. A lot of teams are going to use that to open up the connector wall or try and use it to open up into pillar as well. Full control here on IT and Rafters already, though, is great for Aspire as they continue to pincer and swing around and engulf this defense. But it's all now down to this Goyo. Affler down below, undetected. Could be a massive upset if they manage to creep up behind and they take down Dreams and get away with their life.
That's huge. That is so monumental because you can see it. Wizard wanted to play his vertical game from below, but also has to be cautious that you've now got a Goyo running about the place, looking to cause some chaos here, and Alpha is not going to want to stop swinging this. Eventually, he's going to find the Ash as well, and that is going to single-handedly get Entropy into such a good position to close out this round here because the attack, they're now funneling through what options they've got available to them. Luckily, they started this round off at good time, so they've got plenty of availability to do so. But with this blitz running in here, the fire doing the damage, Casper does eventually take down one, but what can you do at that point? Rise gets one back, Vasi does drop. It's 2 versus 3 here, but my worry for Aspire here is look at the health pool remaining in either of these players. 1 bullet is all it's going to take, and how much of a bullet magnet that shield can be. Unfortunately, Casper's going to be on the receiving end of it, and you know, it's all on Carol now. Going to be charging in towards the objective here, but with 2 defenders, with high rate of fire weapons, surely this blitz doesn't last long.
Yeah, it's 1 HP as well. A smoke thrown to try and hide one angle, but it's not deep enough. Afternoon from inside of IT. I mean, look at that. You've given him that gap. He'll spot out a toe, and you can't even see it, let's be real. But it's a 1 HP blitz. Who cares?
Yeah. Fling bullets in his direction. One of them's eventually going to hit some part of his body and take him down there. I mean, don't get me wrong, Tom died in this position, but I've got to give credit to the quick, you know, having that Vulcan canister there, being able to just keep it going there. And yet again, that Goyo, Alpha, playing a great job of it. Of course, that Vulcan canister really was the helping factor there. And finally, Entropy find an answer back here. They finally got themselves around on the board. It took them 3, 3rd time's the charm. And finally, we're going to be seeing this basement site. It's been dodged so far by Entropy. Does it have the answers they need here to try and tie us up? Or are Aspire going to keep hold of that lead?
Well, they've already broken the trend from last map, Travi. So we can't use the classic, oh well, last map this happened, right? Because last time it was 3 in a row. Entropy have broken that curse, and I think that's a really telling sign that things are only going to get better. They now get to go down to the basement, but they'll only get 1 win on basement. You know, because you only get to play it once per half, effectively, right? It gets locked for 2 rounds.
10 seconds to
Maybe that's something. Maybe there's something there, right? It's going to be what? They win here.
5 seconds left.
They have to play the tertiary. They win on top floor.
Attackers must locate and defuse
yeah.
the bomb.
It's difficult. I mean, when you obviously are in siege, you only got 6 rounds to play within a half, and if you win an objective, you've locked it out for a 1/3 of that. it's difficult. There's obviously that risk reward with experimenting with the objectives there, isn't it? Obviously, Entropy not wanting to experiment, commit to that top floor. It does pay off. They do eventually get the round, but as you say, Kolu, they win this basement. They're locked out of at least one more round of this top floor successful site, and then even then, if they can only win these 2 sites, the best they can get is a 3-3 at that point. And as a defensive side, that's not the end of the world, but they certainly wanted more from that.
IT breach open, still peppering into E-box as well. Again, it's this control of Vert that you're hunting for. That's why Kazma's immediately thrown a buggy in. Creeping around again, using this Jackal that we've seen quite prominently through this series, mainly on Afla, the first half of Consulate. He's looking down below with a Nitro Cell, ready to try and catch any potential aggression coming across from the attack. If they're not careful where they step.
I mean,
I like the work
careful.
being done. I do like this from Wizard, catching these cameras.
Yeah. It's underrated. It's something we don't see brothers go for all the time, but Shady's going to go for Sad Bet. You're going to get the kill. Tom does get Dreams back, and that's the Jackal we talked about gone here. A lot of pressure being placed on these roaming players right now, and it's exactly paying off, but never mind. Alpha takes down Wizard, takes down that Barava. We are 3 versus 3 even. Death Mark is going to come out on towards the Mozzie. Confirm that the retreat has come through, and that gives us Fire a little bit of breathing space here, right? That's what they need right now. A little bit of room to work with, a little bit of comfortability, because right now, everything they do, Entropy seem to be pushing and prodding back. I feel like that's going to stop now. 3 versus 3, C4s have been burnt. Defense, they're just going to need to bide the rest of the round here, play the angles, and I'm curious to see how many more of these Valkyrie Black Eye cameras are available, and how are they going to affect the end of this round here? Because you can see the players that are dead, they're already using them.
Moving back now as well, still looking down through the Vert. Hatch is being accessed. There's only 40 seconds left on the clock though. I like this lurk from Vasi, trying to hide behind if they don't check for him, but look who's been targeted by Deimos, as if the timing couldn't be any better. Casper catching out the flank as well. They're trying to challenge onto the Valkyrie, but it's one and goes for a second. That is utterly ridiculous. Casper at 1 HP, just storming down cargo stairs. But again, this position, this little HP, 2 members waiting with a crossfire held. It's all but over. You walk forwards and die on tube, and Tom puts Entropy to 2 rounds each to these teams.
The huge round there for Entropy. I mean, you read it perfectly there, Golu. That Valkyrie, how are you getting away with that? Vasi, how are you still alive
ridiculous.
there? You have the pressure of the world on your shoulders. You have everything going against you. You're death marked. You've got a weapon that, let's be honest, the MPX, it's not great. You can see the rate of fire on its rear, the damage on it's really low, but the swing out of the Deagle there, not afraid to take it. And that is the kind of thing that we've seen from 2 rounds now from Entropy. Of course, Vasi just there, Alpha the round before. Those kind of hero plays, that's really doing good work for their defense right now. And we're going to return to this mid-floor site. It's been played once, first round, of course. And of course, it was won by Aspire. They're going to be looking to repeat themselves here because Entropy, they're locked out of the basement for a little while. They're locked out of the basement for this half, rather. And of course, top floor still locked for this one.
This is where it's so important for Entropy, and it's where they just step up.
5 seconds left.
It was the same on Consulate. The rounds that they desperately needed, they had to get to push themselves further. They were able to do, and what did we talk about last time? They win that top floor, they're going to have to, they win the basement, they're going to have to play a tertiary. Here we go, storage and control. I mean, I like this a lot more than kitchen. Last time it came down to Rise and Vasi because of how quickly this top floor was dismantled. But Entropy look so different in every round since, even the other round they lose, right? So, if they can hold this shape a little better on the top floor, concede a little bit less to the early clearance coming in from Aspire, they can set themselves up so much better. They've also looked much more keen and just accurate with these Nitro Cells when playing on verticality, whether that's to try and deal with this roam up on this middle floor or from basement closing out verts.
And they've got so much to guide this C4 game as well. They've got the mirror windows to look behind, Pulse down below, Solace as well. There's so much on the side of Entropy to really make sure when these C4s are thrown, they're hitting their marks. As you can see, Aspire, totally different to what we saw from them before. It's a bit of a slower start to the round here. All players still outside the building, a minute in now, are starting to think about making their entry on through. But with this bandit tricking game here, still up at large here, Tom making the breach a really difficult spot. They're just holding on and they're finding the picks they need. Betchy's going to be taking down Shady, and already Entropy are off to a really, really great start in this round here. They've got that man advantage. They're still holding on to this top floor. Betchy does try to go up to support, does get eventually caught off by Carol, but still, they've still got players to clear on the side of Aspire, and now they've got to decide where they want to focus their attention, because if you get split, Alpha's just going to take you clean out of it.
Still looking for this access point. Casper has to get aggressive. But this defensive positioning from Entropy is still so strong. They have people above. They have this pulse scanning for all information. And if you try and just brute force at this point, there's nothing really going for you. Aspire swatted away up above, forced to come downstairs to try and find anything that they can. And Ryzen on this side is like, he's baffled. He's looking for anything. Dropping below. Tom just guns down Wizard on the entry, but Casper has been able to work through.
Ooh. Nice shot from Carol there. That does at least keep Aspire in it, but look at the positions that remain from the three Entropy players. They've got players above, players below, players in front. They have got all of the possibilities covered here. They are split up, which may give Aspire the opportunity to sort of carve their way through the middle of everything, but it's so hard to do with these vertical angles being used against you. Alpha finds one, is immediately traded back, but look at this, Casper's on the top floor, 15 seconds to go. Has zero idea what's going on because there's no drones left. Absolutely no intel here. You're running in blind, and Entropy, they have the idea, they know where you're coming from. All you can do at this point for Casper is run in, but it's just going to be Vasi finding success with a shotgun this go around, and it takes them their round, and they take the lead, and suddenly what we were singing Aspire's praises for at the start of this map, I feel like we can't as much anymore here because 3 really strong rounds in a row for the defense.
Yeah, and again, everything that I want to credit Aspire for. The way in which they're very slow but methodical. They put themselves in the right position. They have a good approach to clearing out utility. None of that existed in that last round. It was just slow. And that's not enough, right? When you're looking to try and break open this hole, when you recognize, and they've already shown the understanding of the importance of that verticality above the bomb site, and you get to a 3 versus 4 and you just like to give up, you're playing on a gambit that you can push into a safe corner of the bomb site and beat the defense at their own game, but they've got a Solace and a Pulse on the table, and you know this by this point in the round. It's not going to happen. You have to play for the fights. You have to push above. Aspire just giving that opening to Entropy, and Entropy deserve all the credit for it. It's not Aspire just being bad, it's Entropy forcing them to play this warped game that they're just not able to deal with.
10 seconds remaining.
Entropy have stepped themselves up over the course of the last 3 rounds in a way which we just... It's phenomenal to see.
Yeah, it's so good to see from them. You can tell they want to make these playoffs, can't you, Golu? You can tell the way they're fighting for this one. They're really putting everything they've got into this game there, 100%. And the key is, we saw it towards the end of Construct, especially, you know, it sticks out to me round 12, that little micro adaptation of the Bandit onto the Mute. They can do the small little changes like that, but immediately as well, they've already shown on Labs, they can make the sweeping changes. And, well, Aspire, I think they're looking to make some sweeping changes of their own. Going to be sending the blitz in quite early, but faced up with Warden, going to retreat away, stall back out, and, well, we'll have to see how Aspire want to play the rest of this one out here, but a bit of early aggression at least, stop for the minute.
Still hunting on the drones. Again, yet to enter the building, but they've brought this Flores back, and to say that, Wizards immediately jumping in. Well, that's a pretty obvious sign of verticality, but doesn't land the shots, takes damage to the shoulder instead, even though he's looking right up at it. Again, blowing up the wall underneath where the mirror window would traditionally be placed, but can't find one there. As Casper just disrespects completely the blitz, rushing forwards, looking for a frag. But Affler just abandoned to wreak havoc on the back line. You punch down the dock, you take him off the table. But Affler continues this demolishment of the attack. What are Aspire doing?
And that's it. Why is the blitz pushing in? You know the Goyo is still behind you. You know he's there, causing chaos amongst your ranks. And it's Afla, a player who time and time again we've been bringing up from the side of Entropy for just getting kills where sometimes he has no right doing so. But if there's one thing that we can be sure of, while Afla is still active, Aspire are having such a difficult time of getting these entries in. You can see here, Wizard gonna stall out because you're in a 1 versus 4. What really can you do at this point? I mean, the half, it started off so good for Aspire. 2 really strong rounds. It started to seem like they've fought back a little bit and worked out a little bit of the issues that were plaguing them throughout Consulate. But immediately, as the game's gone on, Entropy have just responded by leveling up the game further there as Alpha closes it out with, I believe, a quad kill for that round. And yet again, Entropy, they just level it up. As soon as Aspire match the level, it feels like Entropy, well, we could just reach deep deeper, and they just come out on top 4 rounds in a row and salvage what was looking like a really rocky half to start with.
And it's unfortunate as well, right? Because it's just such a wasteful round. I mean, it's skipping all the steps. It's just a complete lack of respect being shown in towards this flank that's coming in behind you.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
It's so unnecessary, right? When we start losing players in our own back line, we should be turning around and going, guys, let's cut this from happening, from just ruining our run immediately. And they don't. They keep walking forwards to their own demise, ultimately. But again, it's a good setup coming in from Entropy, right? Where they just have a very standard approach. They're willing to be a little aggressive, a little cheeky. And it forces Aspire to bite, and you see what happens, right? They just start hunting.
10 seconds.
Yeah, they get the kill onto the dock, but it doesn't matter if literally everyone else is dead, right? You just,
5 seconds
you're all
left.
gone.
And that's it. We now head over to a half where suddenly it's Aspire in the back seat yet again here, because Entropy, they can win the 2 tertiary bomb sites, they'll force overtime. Where they win anything more than that, they've closed out the game in regulation. They're in a really strong seat right now. And Aspire, they need to find that answer back here on this defense. They're going to be going for something a bit extended again. We saw them tease us a little bit with it in map number 1. That Scopo's pick. What can she do? Of course, she can teleport around, map control, lost map control, immediately gained back. But the key is here, look at how much emphasis is being placed on this by Aspire. They really want to hold on to this. And it's a big gamble, but you can only hope for their sakes it pays off.
Afla taking a lot of damage. Still alive, though, and putting pressure onto this Scopos, not letting them escape. The first pick comes through on the Dreams, and again, this IQ continues to take a battering, but stands up straight. Goyo in the back corner needs all the support it can get, and it's going to, with Casper retaking onto 90. This defense holds tight, despite the fact they're fighting so far off-site. They want to hold this roam forever. Those reinforced walls are going to hurt, but again, Afla goes down. Defense still on top.
And the commitment really paying off there for Aspire here, right? They're still swinging, they're still trying to find it. You can see Entropy having a really difficult time getting any further in than the front building. Above, Rise is trying to do what they can with the Deimos, but the players of Aspire, they've got enough. They can just play it safe, and look at what you've lost on the attack. You've lost the IQ, but more importantly, you've lost the Montaigne. However, the defense has now lost Wizard. But Shady's there for the response, trades it right back, and it's just Aspire yet again, putting everything onto this top floor, and everything is being handed to them on a silver platter right now, because look at this, Entropy still chasing around, and the Scopos can just retreat like nothing ever happened.
Yeah. Oh, no, you don't teleport back. Please don't teleport back. You take the win.
Attackers recover the defuse.
Surely you take the win.
Yeah, they do take the win. They take the win. They take the win.
Good.
Oh, looking to revert as well. Shot to the shoulder. Still alive, able to cross. Okay, now you teleport back. Now that would be a baller move. No. Still don't do it, Shady. Don't do it. I'm joking.
Well, Shell's destroyed. I don't think there's... Oh, is Shell destroyed?
Don't think so.
I don't know. The HUD on the Scopos says it is. The bottom one doesn't.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know. By the way, Casper in a key position here, and that is the opening that was needed from Entropy, but the response from Carol is there, and it's now leaving Betchy in a difficult spot. Flashbang's going to be coming in, but they're aware there's a player here playing for support. You're in a difficult spot now, 1-on-2. Really difficult spot here. It's the defense, they can just play crossfires. They can just play away. The fuse attempt instantly baited. But yeah, that is all it is. It's just bait, and eventually Carroll's going to bite and take it out. And Aspire, they start off their defenses strong with a pretty solid round there. But this is the thing for me. Do Entropy find the response? Because if Aspire go for that top floor and really extended hold again, Entropy need to change things.
Oh, 100%, right? Like,
Mm.
it's coming through, and they're just so caught up on this roam.
Yeah.
Because we're just getting 3 people sat in kitchen, holding you up completely. And it's so difficult to figure out what you're supposed to do there as the attack. You try and clear them out and take them on. Because if you don't,
Attackers need to locate
if you
and
just go for
defuse
warehouse and you play around the main breach, first of all, you give up vert if you don't go and get that storage and lounge control. You can get flanked on your hatches or cargo stairs if you focus on either of those instead. And it's a difficult position to try and push out from, right? It's just awkward. They have control of the corridors around you. I wonder if a reverse sweep would have been better rather than approaching from lobby side. If they'd come in from storage, from lounge, and tried to catch them in the middle of the two effectively. Because it was very one-dimensional from Entropy on their clearance.
10 seconds.
And it let Aspire get this wonderful position that they established themselves, right? You have 90 control, 1 inside a kitchen, 1 inside of the cafeteria. They're all just looking down these long angles. And then they had a 4th in the top of vending as well, just making sure the back was covered a little bit. Don't have to commit anything. It's very much just like a casual scouting spot.
Yeah.
But it all loops in together really, really nicely. A great approach from Owl Aspire. And again, it's the defense setting up in a way where the attack feels obliged to play their game that wins out for them.
Yeah,
Attackers
and
have located
that's
a bomb.
it. I mean, Entropy, we've seen them want to play into the gunfights before, but when Aspire want to play right back, that proved to me there that they can do it, and they can win them. And it is really crucial here. Of course, it seems like we're going to be seeing a bit more of a traditional hold here of this top floor here. Oh, Tom almost able to catch the feet of one. Does the 2-Brow want to swing this? Because if he could, it might be costly for them. Montaigne being sent it down from below here, likely being on the roll of a little bit of a flank watch here, because Alpha is going to be looking for, Afla rather, is going to be looking to try and clear this vertical out. But yet again, the players of Entropy know there's someone down there, and with Afla taking a lot of HP and a lot of damage, it's putting this army in a good position to try and make something happen here, because Wizard, look at this spot you're in right now, it's a great spot, and Entropy, they're just losing a lot of health and seem a little bit lost right now.
Gonna jump outside. Want to play for the staircase. Just off. Zoto canisters being thrown to try and slow down the opening of this breach. The Nitro Cell just fishing for a potential frag. No one on the receiving end of that one though, Travi. So we keep up the ball rolling. But it doesn't matter if you miss with a Zoto, because Carroll's aim is much truer. The Monty trying to pry in on the backside as Kaeda's been spotted out by the Deimos. In tandem with this Warden. Using verticality again with this Vendetta from below, but it's not finding a target, even throwing these grenades up to try and disorientate. You're still bottlenecking the attack.
Yeah, and that's it. Entropy, they just feel a little lost right now. They need to try and find something that's going to give them the opening. They need to try and find the silver lining in this one, because as you can see right now, Aspire, they're just holding all the positions that they need to be as players with shields in their faces, but they don't seem scared at all there. Shady just holding onto the position with Key and not moving at all. Afla trying to look to get close and trying to make something happen, but with low HP, what really can you do?
Trying to play on rafters, goes down to Dreams. Ryzen finally pushing up to rejoin with Vasi and catches the Warden standing, sorry, the 2-Brown standing in the middle of the open. Creeps across into sight, but taken down in the head holes as the shotgun comes out from the Deimos in close range. It's completely unexpected to catch them off guard, but the Nitro Cell landing at the feet, sending Rise into a nightmare as Casper swings around, and Vasi with the shield undeployed, trying to tuck into a corner, gets gunned down.
And that is a round that quite simply goes the way of Aspire there. They just kept Entropy guessing, right? That entire round, just They just felt lost a little bit, Entropy there. They were trying to find ways that you could see they had the idea. Play the vertical from below, pressure them out with the Deimos, and then catch them panicking with the Montaigne and whoever's above. But Aspire, they just had the right idea that this was what was going to be going against them, and they played it perfectly. They had the players responding, they had the players, and they were just keeping Entropy on their toes and guessing them. Because Entropy couldn't find that baseline level of comfort, it really cost them in the end run there. It really cost them, and it meant they just looked a bit lost. Like I said, they're just really unable to find anything for themselves in that one. And Aspire, they look really, really comfortable, and they head to the tertiary bomb site now, which on paper is where the defense is at its weakest. But Entropy, they need to change it up because I still don't see them taking a round if they're playing like the last two have.
This is... Again, another situation where I just don't know what to see coming. Entropy, they're a team that I think should be able to push this over the edge, right? They should be looking to use the fact they had a strong defensive half to come in swing on attack. But again, this is Owl Aspire's map pick, and they're kind of showing why, right? A couple dominant attacking rounds in the first half, coming into defense and just shutting Entropy out. But that shouldn't be the way it goes. Util coming through on this middle floor to try and remove as much as possible early on. Both bandit batteries taken from the warehouse rule. They can get this early progress established for themselves now. Bok also looking to rip open some of this floor. But it's on the long approach. Coming in from that meeting side, there's no one yet to meet in the middle. You'd want to hopefully have this external wall into IT breach opened. But Afla on that Guyo was a pain roaming around. This time, it's Dreams on the same operator causing problems and gets the opening pick, taking away the Bok.
And I'm looking at all the operators on the line of Entropy, right? Maybe bar the Twitch, every one of them has such a huge role to play in this round. Losing any of them, one of them is going to be Spell, but especially that Buck there. A lot of that vertical pressure you can see create, well, unfortunately, he's not going to be able to do so, and you can see it's giving these defenders the confidence to open up their own vertical. Rise, watching for the drop here, but with nothing to move the players of Aspire downwards, they're not going to be using that hatch. Betchy might want to be looking to change that, though. Does take down Carol, and you can see here immediately, Casper's looking to get aggressive, but do you have any idea that there's a player out that window here? Because, of course, it's a difficult spot to be in. And if the vertical gets opened up, what's the attacker looking to do here? They've got half the round to go for, but look at this, there's a C4 from Wizard, and if you can just throw this over, that could be defining here. Shady's going to be going for a swing. Why are we swinging? Because Tom's just going to punish you for it. And yet again, another swing does not go the way of Aspire. Does get traded back, but still, 2 versus 3, and Dreams left to try and cause some chaos on this Goyo.
There's only one player up above for the attack, right? So plenty of opportunities for Dreams, but I say that as Casper goes in and goes down, a Goomine to the foot of the Thermite needs to pull it out, but you have coverage from outside, and Entropy Gaming break the spell of this defensive misery for them. They're able to put one on the board, they get their attacking win. They should be able to do this now.
Yeah. That's it. And even if they don't get it done in regulation, right, they win the tertiary bomb site, yet again, we go to overtime, which, of course, you know, we'll talk about that should when we get to it. We were almost there on map 1. I could certainly see a world in where we get there on map number 2. But right now, that is exactly what Entropy needed, right? Just a good, solid round that wasn't really, like, it was, you know, it wasn't dominant, but it wasn't close either. It was a good, decent round for Entropy on their attack, and as long as they can take one more before we head back to that tertiary bomb site, they should be able to close this out. Aspire head back down towards the basement now. One that, well, they've bought once, of course, before, and we saw just how much they put on the roam game. I don't think they're going to be doing quite the same thing again, because obviously Entropy will have to read into it this time, and will probably be bringing more tools to deal with it if they smell that's what's coming. So I'm expecting a little bit more of a traditional round here.
You think? You think we're going to see something a little more standard come out now? You
Well,
still got
there is
Shady on the
always the
scope
Scopos.
post running around.
Yeah, there's the Scopos, which, you know, you see a Scopos, nothing ever plays standard, but I would assume.
You think they're not going to sit 4 people inside a kitchen again? Hey, look, they're all running upstairs. Casper, Dreams, and Wizard are all up over inside a kitchen yet again.
They want to do it. I respect them for it. You know what? If it works once,
Just
why
rush sight
change
at this
it?
point, right? Surely
But
you
then
go,
that's
oh.
it. That's the read they should have. If they're going
They're
to try
still-
that again, you know.
They're still sitting outside the kitchen window. This can't be right.
Like, why are Entropy playing into this?
For a
Just
second
don't-
time as well.
Yeah, look, you can see the sledges up above. They want to play into this. Entropy want to take this fight to kitchen. They're hoping it's going to go better for them than the first time. And, well, it's going to at least start off better. Rise is going to take down Wizard. And look at that. Immediately, Entropy, they're starting to make a move. They're starting to roll through. But I just don't know if playing for this extended game is the right idea. But, you know what? They're making it work at least now.
Pushing through this middle floor. Still a Scopos lurking up above. Watching towards the stairs. Gonna start creeping up. Still forwards. They're not slowing it down at all. But the defense are hiding on the staircases, waiting for anything to go their way. Oh, this is a sneaky move from Carol as well. Hiding behind the couch, but spotted out by the Monty, who kept walking into him for some reason. Dreams trying to flank up Cargo, got caught off.
And finally, Entropy feel like they have a bit of a read into this one here. Starting to brute force the bomb site. And you can see Casper running downstairs in a panic. Shady call off upstairs. And this is exactly what we wanted to see from Entropy now. Because look at this. They've just slowly and methodically cleared their way through the map. Something that we're used to seeing from Aspire. But they've cleared their way through it. They've cleared their way through the entire map without dropping a single player. Flawless round. In fact, the first of its kind for the series. And now they get themselves up to map and series point as well. Entropy primed to take this one.
Round of applause. Entropy Gaming, that was spectacular. I doubted the direct walk into it, but they brought the Monty this time, and it completely changed the shape of that round. They were able to just use this shield to walk into kitchen. It didn't give Aspire this opportunity to play around the counter and set up these crossfires with each other. No, you just walk at them. They have to fall away. And they were a little less aggressive initially. I think that's what you kind of have to be the second time you try and pull something like that out. I think if they hadn't respected it as much, right? If they continued to hold these aggressive positions, they'd have been cut away a lot quicker. It let them get out with their lives, but they still wanted to try and catch people off guard. There's a world in which that Monty looks into lounge instead of towards cargo stairs, and you get the freebie, and everything starts to spiral back into your control. But Entropy, bring that shield, and Vasi finally finding just the way to make it work. Walk up to the Aspire, force them to back away, because they don't want to try and take it on in a 1 versus 1, and you can understand why. It's not exactly an exciting prospect. Really, really nice job from Entropy Gaming to just go, look, we made a mess with this last time around. We can figure out what we need to do it differently, and then backing themselves to do it. I was skeptical. They proved me wrong.
And you know what, Golu, you weren't the only one who was skeptical. I think we were both a bit concerned when they started playing back into it. But this is our formal apology. Entropy, I'm sorry, I was not familiar with your game. Anyway, round number 11 now. Entropy, 2 map rounds to play for, and this is the thing now. They've got this wiggle room, right? They're just 1 round away, 1 slip up from the way side of Aspire, and that's the series going their way. They can move on to playoffs, they get the week break, and they're going to be quite happy with that one. For Aspire, they need to find the answer back here, and I think what concerns me is by that massive roam here, Entropy feel like they've got a read of things for now, right? They feel like they're starting to work their rhythm back, sort of how we saw it in half 1, and as we saw in the first half, when Entropy are feeling themselves, is there really a lot that can stop them?
No. No, the answer is that there isn't. They do need to keep this going though, and Nitro's over the top. Shot out in the sky, that's a massive find to keep Entropy's rolling on. Monty looking to take another aggressive stance as going on the other side, eats an impact grenade to the toes, but there's no more left for Wizard to throw. Still staring down the shield. Second entry is now as Ash comes in behind, can give information, because the Monty's a perfect drone, right? You just walk up and feed everything you need to. The Mute backing away with the shotgun, no longer holding that tight angle with the breach getting open. It's a lot more dangerous to do.
Yeah, look at this. Playing so close by, but eventually Wizard forced to drop away here, and the pressure from Entropy, while there's no kills coming through, you can tell the defense are starting to feel it. They're starting to go. Casper wanting to get aggressive, try and find the opener back for the team here. But the opener might yet again come in the form of a Goyo, but they droned it. Did they see him? I don't know if they did. I don't know if Wizard might have just slipped by that one, because if he did, that is absolutely huge.
It's a game changer if he goes unnoticed. But
they know.
Look at this. Tom's watching behind. That means they know exactly. 46 seconds. The Goyo walking up, demolished by Rise, who's not just watching from outside a theater all the way through. A second kill onto Rafters, though, to keep the score even. Still trying to push forward, but Casper gets aggressive, Travi, and it's all falling apart for Entropy Gaming.
That's it, Entropy. Aspire, they just dialed up the aggression out of seemingly nowhere, and now the attacker on the back foot, pushing him blind. The Monty's on his lonesome from above with the shotgun. Shady finds it, and Rise, 10 kills to your name, but you're going to need to make it 14, and with just as many seconds to go, I don't see this one being likely here. Aspire, yet again, going to be pushing us all the way to the end of regulation. The question really lies in, do they have what it takes for map number 2 to change how the outcome of this one goes? We've seen the story before, but this time, can they end it differently? Can they end it on overtime? And can they send us to Lair?
One more round of regulation before we go into the dooming long OTs. And we've had some long OTs together, Travi.
Oh,
we had 2 10-8s.
Yep, 18
2
rounds.
10-8s. Are we going to get the same? I believe it was Entropy with us for that one, wasn't it? Last week?
Was it
No.
Entropy with us? No, it was Satellity.
No, it was Eternity. It was Eternity.
It was Satellity with us, yeah. Unfortunately, neither of these two teams, but here's the thing. You get to that infinite overtime and it becomes this endurance game. I mean, we literally with it last week, weren't we, Golu? We know how it feels from our perspective as casters, but also for these players, a long game like that, you can start to see the quality of the game change a little bit, and, you know, don't really want to go massively before we get there, but I certainly feel if we get there, it's still anyone's game.
I think trusting your gut becomes really important as well, right? Just if you get that instinctual feeling that you should do something, just go for it. Make a play happen, and teams that trust each other to do that generally do quite well in these overtime situations where there's less stress behind everything you're doing, it's much more laid back, and that lets you just play your game to the best of your ability. Entropy Gaming will just be looking to continue their form though, right? They found this winning condition, they found that path to victory. Can you replicate it? A little bit of a different side to this roam game. No Goyo, but they're bringing in the Legion again to try and throw these goos. All the more important once we've seen this establishment of Vashti on this Monty being a pivotal piece of Entropy's recipe for success.
That's it, and I like this game here. I feel like round by round on this base, we just added layers to it, right? First round, massive roam response, Entropy don't have an answer. Second round, they had the shield as the answer, as you say, but then immediately, Aspire respond back with, what if we add some traps into the equation, make it more difficult for your shield. So there's layers to this game here, and it's layers that are certainly going to be the difference make here. The question of, do Aspire have built enough here to get this one over the line? You can see Shady looking to challenge on, but immediately, yet again, the attack, they're getting in, they're starting to push up, still somewhat unanswered here. And look at this, I think this is key here. Rise is just storming through the top floor while still being cautious, not 100% a care in the world. They know the vertical's being played against them. Getting an opener here could be huge, but not going to find it just yet.
Still going slowly. Aware of the presence inside a kitchen as well, those feet holes, while it does let you see down into the doorway, an angle can be drawn down to you as well if you walk too far forwards. Information being relayed as Scopos tries to go for a peek. Betchy watching now from the outside window, but has to be cautious of the Solace, getting ready to be aggressive. The verticality coming in, but not yet forcing movement from the defense. So far, Aspire doing a good job of avoiding the gazing eye of Entropy.
And they're avoiding this guy, but there's only so long that they can do that for. However, if they can get the kills, they can continue to avoid for longer. Carol finds Alpha, and that's going to be absolutely huge there, because look at this, Dream's got himself in such a closely tucked position here, still playing with confidence. It's going to be challenged. The time in this position is running away, but look at the time they've burned. A minute remains on this round, and there's still quite a lot of defenders on this top floor. It seems like for now they've got the answer, but Sabetchi going for direct push inside. This is what we wanted to see from them. Is this going to be the answer?
but panics and shoots, giving away the position. Casper goes down. Information being relayed through the bulletproof as he slips into tube. Saved by Rise from the verticality above, but still goes down to Shady. A 3 versus 3 with 30 seconds on the clock. The Monty taking a lot of damage, but spotting out the Scopus at the back.
And that's it. The Monty with the position he's in, he can just force the plant down in the cover corner, providing that the cover is there up above. But the HP of these Entropy gaming players, it is lower. And do Wizard, does he know there's a player about to send? They have the idea of each other, but Wizard's got the gunfight, and that is huge. Aspire 2 kills away from sending us to overtime. Make it 1, make it none. And we are all the way through into overtime, as we're going to need more than 12 to settle this one out here. Aspire want to keep on fighting.
We're going to overtime. I mean, that last round was so back and forth as well. Aspire changing up, still leaning in towards Kitchen, still having this setup, but much more freeing, much more open. And you can see the difficulty it causes for Entropy, because they can't just walk forward with this shield uncaringly. They've called the tactical timeout at the start of overtime. Our Aspire, their map pick, back on defense again to start it off. Remember, we are in overtime. It becomes a 1-round swap. They will play 1 round of defense, then a round of attack, then a round of defense, and so on. Normally, it would just be 3, but it's infinite OT, Travi. So, you need a 2-round clear in your score. You need to win by 2. It's table tennis rules. So,
yeah.
Back-to-back rounds, 3 back-to-back if you lose the first, by the way, as well, because you have to first bring us back to advance, or back to what's it, love, if we're going by tennis rules, 40-40.
I don't know, I don't play tennis.
You don't play tennis? I think it's 40-40, and then it's like the whole, like, advantage, and then back, and then advantage to you, and then back. A deuce? Is that when it's 40-40? I thought it was 15 deuce.
Tennis is confusing.
Tennis is a weird sport, by the way. Let's take a moment to appreciate this. It's deuce if it's a tie.
Deuce.
That doesn't make any sense because that means 2.
You learn something new every day.
So this
Attackers need to locate
how
and
whack
defuse
are these
the bomb.
stupid sports, by the way?
Yeah, it's all like, this is the thing. I've been brought here to cast Siege. I don't know what it
Just,
goes
like,
on in
count
regular
up.
sports. Yeah, let's just do it numbers. Like, let's just use the numbers.
Like literally
Everyone-
every other sport.
Yeah, it makes life really easy. But
Don't get me started on
complication.
golf, where they just
Oh.
start making up words. Bro, your score is like a bogey. Bro, that's grim. What are we doing that for? Let's keep it. Let's use a tissue, please. Blow your nose.
10 seconds left.
Anyway, back to Rainbow Six Siege, something that I
5
think
seconds
both me and Golu can definitely say we're a little bit more well-versed in. Overtime now on the card
Attackers
between
are
these
moving
two
out to locate a
sides.
bomb and defuse
At
it.
this point, as you said, Golu, 2 rounds required. Aspire, they're going to be starting on the defense, but considering you need to get 2 on the board and you need to get 1 on either side, that doesn't really mean much here because you not only need to win the stronger side of the defense, it also means you need to be able to get an attack, and that can be difficult, especially in overtime. And the pressure right now for Aspire, they've got to be feeling it.
Looking to see what happens next. Oh, drone just flying around the side. Gets shot out. Long angle being held to try and limit the rotation. Shady takes a bullet to the shoulder. Has to be careful. Again, while it is an advantage being on that defense first, if you lose, it becomes a lot harder.
Oh,
If you lose out on an attacking round, you just go, cool, well, it's defender-sided. We go to our defense. Much more important to win out the rounds you can, and with Carol running back up Cargo Staircase just in the nick of time to catch Vasi off on the entry, that is a well-deserved and very important frag to find for our first of overtime. Looking to walk up for a second that immediately dies though, so you throw away that advantage that you had. You can no longer move these FNATs that are opened as well. So as they get identified, as they get shot out, he opens the floor, should have a second. Casper, you are fortunate to be alive. No, if you
are.
angle...
Oh, got it. Oh, so lucky. So lucky to be alive there. But can be stimmed back up at least. Full HP on a 4 versus 4 here. But that one this really should be in Aspire's park right now. And look at this, utility, Vulcan canisters being burnt out here. Entropy doing the work that they need to be doing here. They're getting the utility burnt, and they're getting rid of the players as well. Shady's going to be going down, and it puts the advantage right back into Entropy's hands.
Still looking down through the verticality, but it's being stared right back up by Wizard and Dreams alike, who want to try and find a pick going back, but it's Casper to get it as Rise just carelessly poked his head over a corner next to a hatch. There's again zero reason for this. The fire being used to try and close off the tight doorways might give them an opportunity to get Tom down for a plant. Flashbangs flying in, but so are the Dreadnoughts trying to commit, but Athla has the perfect cover.
No, you stick the plant, but you do go down eventually. But speaking of down, Aspire are down to one. Casper cornered out here. Player from inside, player coming from above, and not long for this world. An Entropy Gaming cracked the code. It feels like they've got his basement down a little bit now as Aspire, for the first time that they've brought it, they try something different on it. They don't go for that extended hold, and it doesn't work out for them. And I really have to dial it on back to Dare. Carol dying. Why are you swinging? Because if you're not, suddenly it's a 2 versus 2 at the end of that. You know, say it plays out the same way. Because that there from Casper, that's huge. And Aspire there, I just feel a little bit shaking in their boots, I think, coming into this overtime here. You can tell the pressure's mounting up. They're doing things that's a little uncharacteristic for them. And sometimes it works for better, sometimes it works for worse. And the issue is now they're going to have to go onto the attack.
Yeah, they're going to have to go into the attack. And Entropy are using their timeout now as well, Travi. Both these teams have held it for so long and are using it to try and push themselves over the edge. Both giving themselves a chance to talk over their last potential defensive rounds. But of course, Aspire didn't win theirs. They're not now up with an advantage with match point. And they're staring down not only a match point on map number 2, but series point as well, because they didn't win Consulate. They lost map 1. This could be it. This is their playoffs life on the line. It's do or die. It's time to rise. Because Entropy Gaming have everything going for them. It's not down to the basement. It's back up to the top floor. The site that they have consistently looked the strongest on. They've been so good at closing down the opportunities, the openings to walk on in.
Defenders,
they are
protect
contesting
your bombs.
aggressively on the top of Aqua. They are contesting you in Connector. They are trying to trick you off, forcing you to bring enough utility to open up the
Bomb
IT
located
breach.
by attackers.
And Vasi is locking in that Zoto canisters in the pocket of the tube round once again, which is going to make these breaches all the more difficult to try and break through. You're looking at the lineup coming through. There's not even a Thatcher on the board. There's not a Maverick on the board. They're relying on what? Pocket EMPs for a Grim? There's not even, like, the Ash going underneath to try and blow open the floor. Finally, there's the Maverick for Wizards. They recognize what's going on.
10 seconds
And
to
a
go.
Thatcher. Okay, so, I take it back. Aspire, they're being overly cautious this last round. They want to make sure they have every tool to get the basic jobs done because they know that they can be flexible with them
Use
afterwards.
a bomb.
I do
Yeah.
like this from Aspire.
It is good to see that. Of course, doubling down there does mean you do lose some bits elsewhere. Of course, that is obviously a case where you've only got 5 operators, so really doubling down. I mean, 4 of those operators they're for dealing with breaches, meaning that elsewhere for Aspire there is going to be limitations. Of course, right? You're not going to have a massive amount of end-of-round utility to deal with. You're not going to have the shields that have really been defining this entire series to play with. Your options are limited, but at least you hopefully can get these breaches guaranteed open here. And at least means the 2 picks from Entropy denied them, they're going to be null and void.
Again, it's all about the start of the round. With Rise taking down Dreams, who's just trying to push up into theater. The aggression from the Solace pays off massively. Trying to identify what these gadgets are, obviously a lot harder to do. That's a drone. You know that. You should get out pretty swiftly.
Claymore's
This extension into theater so far not really coming to fruition. As he's walked back to the window, shot another drone, and gets out his life. More importantly.
Indeed. And I'm looking here at what the attack have lost here, right? I said 4 of the operators that they've got are to deal with these breaches. And those are the only 4 that remain. The Grim taken off the board here. Aspire, the only utility they've got to force their way into the objective is the 4 guns they hold and 4 flashbangs. That's all they've got to deal with here. It's quite a limited tool set, and it is going to be paramount. They get all these breaches open in due time. You can see here, one is opened up, as well as I believe IT has been opened, so they are getting them done, but still, I have to worry for this end of round because they're going into it with a man disadvantage without the right tool set, and you can see Entropy, they're more than happy to play into this late round execute, but if they give them away and they give another, they can steal it right back.
Got to be very careful. Creeping up into IT. The breach opened. Rafters controlled by Aspire, so look both ways. It's a dangerous prospect. They have the line, but they can't find the claw, so an EMP has to be used. The last one available, but it's impossible to get a Zoto in to disrupt. Walking into IT though, Wizard takes down Tom, gives Aspire the advantage until a massive flank from Afla, who has always been the man to do it, to 1 versus 3.
Single-handedly throwing the game back in the hands of Entropy, and when they've got it in their hands, they will take it into the stratosphere, into playoffs. 2-2-0 for Entropy. Overtime is brought along, but they still come out on top. Map number 2, unfortunately not enough for Aspire, and despite looking really, really close and some really promising signs from them, Entropy come out on top. And you said it, Golu, Afla, the hero maker, the one making all the plays in that game, coming out huge, coming up massive time and time and time again for Entropy. And I can't help but feel he's one of the key instruments in their success today.
No, Afla has been phenomenal at every turn. I think Entropy just really looked just tidier at the end, right? I think they were ultimately just able to push themselves over that final hurdle, and it's sad to see Aspire go. They're a team that started off this event so well. They've had some tough opponents as well. So I'm looking at a team that's not made it through Swiss. It's hard to look at any of their 3 losses and be like, this is not good enough, right? I mean, like, their first loss, their opponent then went on to go 3-0 and make it out of bracket. I think everyone that's beaten Aspire is in playoffs. So,
and
yeah,
that's got to be huge. It's got to be hard for Aspire, hasn't it? You know, you feel, because you look at that scoreline at the bottom of the screen, 2-0. It doesn't look close, but in reality, those were 2 really, really close maps, and it's very small things that are changing the outcomes of that round. Afla in map number 2, small little adaptations from Entropy in map number 1. It's those tiny little details that are getting them over the line, and it's costing Aspire, unfortunately, their spot in playoffs. So we are going to have to be saying goodbye to them. Entropy, congratulations. Playoffs has been secured. They will have a week off, and then they'll be back next week for playoffs. But of course, we're going to have to take a look at the bracket and how things are shaping up here in the tournament. We've got one more game in the 2-2 bracket to play here, Golu.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens for these final games, right? As we do get to that conclusion for our playoffs. I don't know what to expect from the last game remaining. One more playoffs team to be determined. I want to put my money on Molotov Gang. No offense, but they're the team that has the longer track record, multiple titles for ESA Cup. A team that has changed a little bit, but still looks very good. And no offense coming into this, again, I could see it going either way. I expect the talent prediction and the social vote probably leans towards Molotov Gang as well. Even if there is in quite large part due to that sort of name value buff that they get. I don't know, Trevor, what's your take on this last game for Swiss?
I honestly am sitting on the fence about it, I think, a little bit. I really don't know who's going to take it. Oh, I'm sorry. Listen, I'll be a fence sitter for this one. One thing I'm sure on is that I think we're going to be ending this round 5 with a banger game here. You know, we were treated on to a massive, massive 47 rounder game last week. That record has been set. I'm looking for someone to beat it, and I'm looking at No Offense, I'm looking at Molotov Gang, and I'm thinking final game of Swiss stage. That one, we got to go out in a bang, right? We can't.
You can't end the stage with a disappointing matchup. It's just not allowed to happen. Yeah. Especially when the other games towards the end of the Swiss have been so good, right? Like, we had a couple duds at the beginning. That's how a Swiss system works. Your teams that are going to lose, they're going to lose. We'll get rid of them. We'll send them home. The longer you go in, the tighter the games become. And we've really seen that become true. I'm looking forward to what that means for our playoffs as well, right? Like, we're coming in. I feel pretty confident that we are getting the best teams forward. Commiserations to Aspire. They have played phenomenally all event long. Unfortunately, they make it to the 2-2 and no further. They are our most recent team eliminated from ESA Cup. Congratulations to Entropy. Their adaptation throughout this evening, throughout this season, has been phenomenal at just finding ways to gain that slight edge over opponents in very tight games that could realistically have gone either way. Both of these maps, a 7-5 into an 8-6. You couldn't really write it any closer than that.
No.
It really could have gone the other way if a couple rounds go differently, or if Entropy don't make those crucial changes. They let Afla go free on the flanks. They bring Vasi on the Monty to be this centerpiece for their attacking lineups that just completely changed how Aspire had to fight into them and to the attack's advantage. Congratulations to Entropy Gaming. We look forward to seeing you in the playoffs. We will see you tomorrow night for the last game of the Swiss stage, but from us this evening, that is all. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy your evenings.